Dominated by Saeed bin Saror, who's won it many times before. Soft Whisper, well fancied to do so again. That's due off at 8.50, and we conclude at 9.25 with a handicap for horses rated 90 to 105. That's over 1,600 metres. So all that to come, but before we get into tonight's action, let's find out what's been happening in the mornings, courtesy of Adam Brooks.
There was better visibility than last week when our cameras arrived at Meydan on Tuesday morning, so we had a clear view of the Scandinavians. Bent Olsen's learned by heart accompanying Tibasti on the dirt. The latter, a 4-year-old who will carry the silks of Zoo Storm's owner Bashir El Harari, is set to be the first carnival runner for French trainer Romain Ledren-Deleuze. With 2 winners on the opening night, the British contingent have made a cracking start to the carnival, and both Lord Glitters and Equilateral were in action on the training track. Great Grey Glitter sticking to the turf, while Equilateral was hard-held on the tapeta. Earlier on, Equilateral stablemate Fleeting Prince was another to take to the main track, while Ed Walker's useful Cap Francais also went around on the dirt, ahead of his run in the mile turf handicap. Nicholas Collery's Mozzarella and Miroslav Rulek's Chuane appear to have buddied up, and the 2 greys arrived together for their dirt exercise, while John Gosden's Dubai Warrior looked at home on the surface as he gets used to it ahead of Maktoum Challenge Round 2. We haven't seen Pure Nature in action yet, but Ado McGuinness's 4-year-old filly looked in good order on the dirt, as did Cape Verde contender Quiet Times. She was supervised by trainer Pia Brandt, who is looking to add to her 2 Dubai wins so far. Trancafero is yet to get his chance here at the carnival, but he stepped out alongside sprinter Upper Class, as trainer Antonio Sintra looked on, while Lucia Botti was once again on board Count of Amazonia, who is another bound for the closing mile handicap. Back on the training track, Charlie Johnson jetted in from the UK to watch Bastakiya trial contender Leopardo go around on the synthetic. The son of Cairo Prince completing 2 circuits on the black stuff. Rafe Beckett's Kinross wasn't beaten too far in the Group 2 Sinkspiel Stakes last week, and he also headed out for 2 circuits, quickening up on the second. While Patrick Wall supervised Swedish filly of the year Silent Night, who prepared for the Cape Verde under jockey Elion Chavez.
Yeah, we lucked out with our track work filming this week, managed to avoid the worst of the fog, so good to see a few horses going through their paces in the mornings here at Meydan. I'm very happy to introduce a new guest to our broadcast tonight. This is Jan de Repair, who's a group-winning trainer. We don't get too many of those that join us on the set. And welcome along, and tell us why you're here, because you're doing a bit of training in our lane.
Yes, happy to be here. Thanks for having me in the show. Now I came as a trainer, obviously, in a lane, and things didn't work out, so I'm right here expecting any opportunity.
Well, you're going to be a good person to have on, because a few years ago you actually had a runner in the Cape Verde tonight.
Yes, the early days, back in the old days, the one 2011 in the Cape Verde, a filly named Synergy who ran 3rd, and that was a great experience.
Yeah, a pretty good effort to have not too many runners here and have a 3rd. I think it was a Group 3 at that time?
Yeah, it was a Group 3.
Yeah. Group 2 tonight. So Jan's been speaking to plenty of connections, so we'll give us lots of thoughts on the runners tonight, straight from those who know them best. Let's give you an update as to the 10 to follow standings, of course. Plenty of you got involved in that last week, so many thanks for playing. It's well worth being in it to try and win a trip to York later on in the season, courtesy of our Basti Equiworld. It really is brilliant. And we had double points on offer last week for international winners. So anyone who got Lord Glitters or Equilateral is probably at the top of this leaderboard, which currently is being headed by Ofog Bilal. Well done, Ofog. You're on 155.20, so a win away. Back to Yassir Shil in second, and we've just given you the top 8 or so there. There are a bunch of people in behind on 110 and still well in with a shout, with another 5 weeks to go ahead of Super Saturday. Well, the horses are now in the parade ring for our opener, which is for the Purebred Arabians. Maktoum Challenge Round 2. It's a race which dates right back to 1994. $49,000 is the prize fund this evening. Or over 1,900 metres. It's a pretty new distance, only the second time it's been run over this trip, Round 2. Number 1 is one of 3 Group 1 winners in the race, AFL's San Jangele. We have Ayoun for Jean-Claude Picou, who's got 2 here. Bandar, Barella Man, first runner here for trainer Abdullah Al-Balushi, who's visiting from Oman, so good luck to him. Barak, Dagwa Latara is an up-and-comer RB French dude, the one to beat, I think. 1 from 1 over this trip, having won the Meydan last time. RB Texas Hold'em, we haven't seen the best of him yet. It's another Grade 1 winner from over in the States. Amwaj for Eric Lamartinelle completes the lineup, and Eric told me earlier this week he thinks she's a better filly than she was last year, so she's a definite danger. Well, this is AF Al Sanjali. I mentioned that he's a Group 1 winner. That came a couple of years ago now, and he's been pretty disappointing this year. I'm wondering if Khalid Khalifa Al Naboud, his owner, might be thinking about retiring him if he doesn't show the old zip. He's a forward-going sort. A nice low draw in his 3 will help Tygo Shea with that. But as I say, he's yet to really show the sparkle that he had in the past. But he's a very classy horse on his day, so he couldn't be ruled out completely, but was well held last time behind Barak, and the time before that behind RB French Dude. This trip probably is a little bit better for him though, possibly this evening. That does look like our visiting connections from Oman. Good to have them here with the 9-year-old Barella Man. This is one for Jean-Claude Picou, who you know well, Jan. What did he tell you about Ayoun?
Ayoun, he was actually very pleased from his last race when he won easily. He closed a very good third when on his last race, and horses is not very a morning worker. He doesn't show much in the morning, but he said he's looked well, he's in good form, and he's expecting him in a good race and hopefully finish in the top 4.
Yeah, we haven't really seen what he can do here. He's just had that one run locally, and it was a very promising run, as you say. This is Barella Man, who, as I mentioned, has come from Oman. He's actually yet to run in the UAE, hence he's trained as first runner. He's won 3 of 13 in his life, including by 6.5 lengths the last time out in Muscat. Generally, they need to step up horses that have come from Oman, but they won't have brought him all here just for a day out. So good luck to them. Harry Bentley, a good jockey booking. He's done well with runners coming from over the border in the past. This is Bandar, who has got some great form, having won last year Maktoum Challenge Round 3. Fernando Hara rides. He won this race in 2019 on Goshawk. The worry with Bandar is we haven't seen him since February of last year. That was a good victory, beating RB Texas Hold'em, but you would have thought Majid Al Johari would have wanted to have started him before now. That said, with a rating of 118, he can pretty much get in the Kahela Classic already, so maybe this was always the starting point, but say the layoff would be a concern. Barak has to be one of the ones to beat here for Jean-Claude, doesn't he?
Yeah, Jean-Claude was really exciting and happy when he won last time. He believed that the distance shouldn't be a problem, talking with his jockey of the day, and also he make a point when he's saying that previous that race he always run on the right turn track, and that's the first time he come to a left turn track, and it was a winning choice on his part. So he's hoping that he performed the same race than he did last time.
I think if he does, he's going to be pretty hard to catch. Obviously, stepping up in trip is a little bit unknown. He hasn't yet gone this far. This is Dagua Latar, who's only had one run over this 1,900 metres, and that came when 4th, beaten 6 cents behind RB French Dude in the Meydan. I think he'll be there or thereabouts, but he does have a little bit to find with our favourite. Here he is, 1 from 1 over this trip, and pretty lightly raced horse. Only had three wins from 10 starts so far. They're eyeing the big Arabian race in Saudi for him. This will be his prep for it, so he's going to have to go well, I'd have thought, here to justify going over there. But Pat Cosgrave was very complimentary about him last time. This is RB Texas Hold'em, who missed the break last time, and that really gave him pretty much no chance. He's a classy horse on his day. He's a Grade 1 winner around Churchill Downs, no less. That did come over a little bit shorter than this, but on his run behind Bandar last year, he's well capable of picking up a race over this trip and of this magnitude. So if he breaks on terms from a good draw in 4, I think he could just be the one who's been perhaps a little bit forgotten about here. He's the son of TM Fred Sexus, and of course won at Kahela a few years ago. We'll see if we can have a look at Amwaj, the filly number 9, because you had a word with Eric Lamartinelle as well. Yeah, and also Fabrice Veron mentioned that she's better than ever. Thought that she's very mature from last year to this year, and she's just one pace kind of filly, and she's always given her best. And also that the fact that she drew an outside number may be an advantage for her, so she can use as nice and big strike than she has. So, but the goal still on the big day in the end of March. So it's still a prep race, but they'd be happy to win the Group 1 anyway. Yeah, I'm sure they would. Eric won it in 2013 when he was training in Abu Dhabi rather than at Al Sail. That was with a horse called Alba Latois. Stephen is back from the parade ring. It's quite some of these are quite closely matched, and then you've got interesting ones that we haven't quite seen the best of yet, such as Ayoun.
Yeah, for all there's only 9, which is a smaller field than we've become accustomed to seeing for the Arabians here at Meydan this season. You'd say we don't know too much about Barrelman, but the other 8 you'd give some sort of chances to. Ayoun's only had the one opportunity here. But yeah, I wouldn't necessarily be surprised if any of the 9. We've also seen how well the Omani horses have done here before, which is why you wouldn't rule out Barrelman for all he's a 9-year-old and seemingly has a lower rating than some of the other Omani raiders that have come over. But no, it's a very interesting race. AF Al Sajanjleh was actually entered in Saudi Arabia this weekend, I think, as well, wasn't he? But they've opted to come from here. I think Ernst maybe just felt that this race was a bit weaker than he maybe believed it would be, and that's why they've come here. But yeah, very open race, and I'd quite often like to have a view on these, but I'm a little bit on the fence with this one, I think.
There is Amwa. She's got a little bit warm. It was a bit of a concern, I suppose.
Yeah, I guess she's always been like that, but it doesn't take much out of her. She's just the way she is, and I would be more worried if she's not sweating. I think she's always been that way, and I guess this is the right way for her.
Yeah, I say always a concern. It isn't with a horse that's a free sweater anyway. We can see her behind RB French Dude in the Majani Stakes. But before we do that, let's have a look at Barak and that win last time, which was a pretty taking win over Feta de Loup. And it was a bit of a surprise, really, because Barak, I'm sure Jean-Claude mentioned to you, he'd always been a tricky horse, and before this he hadn't really shown that he was capable of winning a group race at all, let alone a Group 1.
Yeah, no, actually, and I think the key was that left turn, because he's always run on the right turn kind of track, and they make a huge run in the end, and also the distance going 1900 seems to be not of a problem for his jockey, and also Jean-Claude as well. So he needs to really prove today that what a good race he did last time.
You're right, he does need to prove he can back it up. He's so lightly raced, just a 9 starts so far. Let's have a look at RB French Dude as well, who's actually only had one more start, 10 in his career so far, and this was less of a surprise, Stephen. He'd put in a really good effort in the Jewel Crown behind Messi. Yeah,
less of a surprise, simply those 2 runs at Abu Dhabi on a surface that he was relatively unaccustomed to, having come over from America. They were both containing promise in the prep and the Jewel Crown itself, and just this American bred horse back on dirt was the angle last time. He didn't lead, but he was prominent, he showed speed, he loved the surface, so I think everything's in place for another big run. Draw 9 needn't be too much of an issue. I'm sure Pat Cosgrave will just gradually work his way across. In terms of pace, it's probably going to be Bandar and AF Al Sajanjleh will go forward. Amwaj will sit handy if she races as enthusiastically as she did last time, and this horse won't be far away either. So he's the young and improving horse in there, and I often see Arabians go back to back with a high level of consistency, but hopefully he can.
I'm quite looking forward to the days when we have a really dominant Arabian again that wins everything. They're rather fun.
It was like I said, I can't remember one in my existence over here.
The famous one is Big Easy.
Yeah.
But obviously we had some really good ones for Sheikh Hamdan over the years. It would be just good to have one that can, like you say, find that level of consistency. And I think if RB French Dude could do that, that would set him along that path. And likewise, I suppose, Barak.
Yeah, Barak's another one. He is an 8-year-old now, so he'd have less time on his side. I suppose when you've got operations like Yas Racing or His Highness Sheikh Mansour as is, then as soon as they're winning Group 1s, then off to stud nowadays. There's not necessarily that longevity of an Arabian too much anymore. So maybe that's some sort of issue as well. But I agree with you that RB Texas Hold'em is a little bit ignored. He's in a similar boat to RB French Dude in that he came over from America. He's not had too many goes on the dirt, but he does need to break a bit better, doesn't he? He was better than being beaten 9 1/4 lengths last time. That was only his 3rd start. You could almost say it was only his 2nd start for Doug Watson, because he arrived late in the yard last year, and it was a bit of a rush to get him to the round 3 where he was 2nd to Bandar. Forget his turf run, and so really this is only his 2nd legitimate run for the yard, but prefer to see him a little bit sharper from the gates.
Well, one thing I'm sure Doug Watson's had plenty of time to do during his enforced absence is work on gate manners.
Well, you'd imagine so, yeah. Even the older horses need a bit of practice every now and again. So, that would have been, I'd imagine, something just to try and liven him up. And it's amazing how, the different horses coming from different countries just tend to struggle. You see a lot of the carnival horses actually going through the gates with Shane Ryan in the morning, just to get used to the different barriers, the different styles, etc. So maybe that's all he needs.
Is that something you do a lot when you're training, Jan? Just even if they're okay at the gate, just put them through to sort of help them out a bit?
When they know and they well behave, I don't push them much. If they slow from the gate, then of course, even they have a good behavior, I will bring them in order to don't miss the break. But in cases like that, I want to make sure the horse is really settled, because it's a big part of a horse being the gate to well behave in order to have a good and steady race.
Particularly on dirt, of course, it's just all that more important.
Well, we don't have much dirt back in France,
no.
But I know it's very important. Like my old days back in the US, it was a key. I mean, the gate was the main thing. Breaking from the gate was the key in order to have a good race, because it's all about speed.
Well, that filly there, Amouage, ran in Saudi last year. I'm not sure if that's the aim for her again. I don't think it is. And Eric does feel, he mentioned the same to me as he did to you, that she's just a better, stronger filly this year.
Definitely. He was actually very happy. I kind of caught him at the gate walking in, and he was excited about her coming to the race.
Who's going to win it, just quickly, Stephen?
I'm going to stick with RB French Dude.
Yeah.
If he can get near the front, then, as we've always seen with the Arabians, they can be hard to come from too far back.
Yeah, I'll stick with him as well. Who do you think?
Yeah, I have to go with it, but I'm going to go with my French squad and go for Jean-Claude Pécou, but I'm going to go for the number 2, Owen. I like the way he finished his race last time.
Yeah, I think he's very promising and very exciting at this stage of his career. There's a few being a little bit awkward at the gates. Might be our visitor from Barelaman, our visitor from Oman. There's another look at the favourite, French Dude. Other than that, just a couple more to load. Oh no, pardon me, it's Texas Hold'em who's providing an issue at the gates, due to go into stall number 4. Shane Ryan and his team will do their utmost to get him in, of course. They very rarely fail. And plenty of time this evening to refer to your French squad. It feels like we have plenty of French trainers and jockeys here at the moment.
Yes, there's plenty. We like the heat.
Yeah, don't we all? Not that warm this evening, though. So let's hope that they get this RB Texas Hold'em in, and that we do go for, looks like I think they're winning the battle, and we'll have our full field of 9 for this opening Group 1 on night 2 of the Dubai World Cup Carnival. They might go in quickly once he has condescended to move forward. So let's head up to Craig Evans.
Stunning night at Meydan. There was a bit of a breeze earlier on, but that's dropped off. It's still a little breeze there, but not as strong as it was earlier on. Now we're almost set. French Dude goes up. Texas Hold'em laying back in the stalls. Getting bouncy there was Ayoun. Gates go back and they're off and racing, and Amouage was poorly out, really skew effort at the start. Barelaman had to be hard ridden as well. Dargui Latois from the inside trying to hold out Texas Hold'em, and driving up between horses is Bandar as they go into the first corner. Then came Barak and Ayoun trapped out a little wider. French Dude is coming across now from El Sajangela. Then came Amouage. She picked up good progress. It's up on the outside third from last now, and back at the rear is Barelaman. They work towards the back straight now with 1,500 metres left to go, and working to the lead is Bandar. First up for the season, shows out by a length over Barak. Up around the outside, Ayoun goes up deeper. Then came Texas Hold'em. French Dude is between horses. Dargui Latois is 3 back on the inside now, ahead of Amouage. A length and a half then to El Sajangela, and 2 lengths away last of all Barelaman. The lead was 27.3 as they marched down the back in round 2 of the El Maktoum Challenge. Bandar shows the way for Fernando Hara. Out a length on Barak in second position. Ayoun up on the outer. Followed then by, next of all, Texas Hold'em. French Dude about to slide a little closer to them. Amouage up on the outside in the red and white. Then Dargui Latois. 3 lengths away to El Sajangela, and dropping well out of play is Barelaman. Down the side they come, and Bandar shows the way. Does it easily at this stage. Barak just edging a little closer, travels up strongly in second. Next of all is Texas Hold'em. Then came French Dude, who comes on strong. Outside of it is Ayoun, then Dargui Latour. Behind the Manwaj, Elsa Jangela, and Barella Man has tailed off. They come to the top of the straight, and over on the inside, Bandar, joined by Barak. Now French Dude comes on strong, and Dargui Latour is between them. A gap away in the field, then to Texas Hold'em, but French Dude moved up on the outside of Barak. French Dude put his nose in front of Barak. Over on the inside, Dargui Latour, but French Dude getting the upper hand in the late stages. The Majani Stakes winner is going to knock off the round one winner in Barak. That is French Dude doing it well and drawing well clear. French Dude wins by 2.5 in the end over Barak. Dargui Latour getting into third, followed by Amwaj, then Texas Hold'em. The early leader Bandar, while back in the run then was Ayoun, a gap to Elsa Jangela and Barella Man. Too good there, French Dude. Lovely ride by Cosgrave. Just had it in a striking position as they came off the back straight. And once French Dude let rip, it got them very quickly. Good run by Barak, showing that the first up win in the round one of the El Maktoum Challenge was no fluke. Another very good effort, and another good honest run from Dargui Latour. Its best numeric finish of the season. Just runs a decent race every single time it goes around. Amwaj, after that poor start, gets into fourth. So the win will go the way of French Dude for Pat Cosgrave and Allow Al-Alawi, and makes it back-to-back feature race winners for this horse, French Dude. Doing it well with that Group 2 win last time, and adding another Group 1 to the resume here tonight. So well done to all concerned. French Dude takes it out. Too strong for Barak in round number 2 of the El Maktoum Challenge.
Well, we wanted a bit of consistency in the Arabian division, and we've got it. RB French Dude didn't necessarily charge away from them, but he got the job done. He proved he can battle, and he's beaten the up-and-coming form horse in Barak in second, with another horse who's steadily improving, Dargui Latour third, and the Smart Amwaj fourth. So it's a really nice look to it, this form. But French Dude too good, Jan? Yeah,
definitely. He proved today that he can win from in front, come from behind, and definitely the horse to beat on March 28th.
Yeah, the interesting question, perhaps for Stephen to put to Hilal Al-Alawi, is will they get to March via Saudi in February?
So they'd have to be tempted. There'd be a few million reasons to probably head over there. He's by a Saudi stallion in Basak Al Khalidia. There'll be plenty of Al Khalidias lining up in that Saudi race. But the impressive nature of that was as Jan mentioned, did it a little bit differently there. He wasn't as great into stride today. He faced a bit of kickback behind the wall of 4 horses that went on early, but then he still picked them up quite nicely in the straight and was reasonably comfortably on top in the line, beating Barak, who's backed up his good run last time. So that's all the sort of strong maiden form coming together here. And Dargui Latour is steadily improving. He's only a 5-year-old as well, and he's finished probably about the same distance behind Barak as he did last time, so it's he's got a couple of lengths closer, but essentially it's another very solid form run from Dargui Latour, and a good race. The likes of Amwaj, she missed the break, was probably a bit better than the Bear result. And RB Texas Hold'em, not quite sure what to make of him now. He's not quite living up to the expectations. He was better away tonight. His gate manner wasn't that great going in, but he broke all right, but just didn't really seem to have much of a fight in the straight. Maybe he needs to dominate and lead outright if he's to show his best, but I wouldn't be necessarily taking a chance on him doing that next time either.
No, I agree with you. He's been disappointing. He's had a couple of chances now, although we shouldn't forget just how long it takes some horses who come from America to really get the hang of racing here and acclimatising and all the rest of it. But these two look fairly determined and fairly straightforward for Arabians. Neither of them has much headgear, which is rather nice. And the good thing about them is they don't have, as we said before, very many miles on the clock, for all that Barak is an 8-year-old. Having only run a few times, there should be plenty more big races to be won with him. And I wonder if Sheikh Mansour might decide to send Barak over to Saudi as well. After all, they sent Ziad last year. But he's done this ears-pricked French Dude, and that's always a nice sign, I imagine, for a trainer to see that the horse is pulling up well.
Still have some horses left, so he doesn't give 100%. So I'm sure there's left on the tank for a few more races.
Yeah, Pat Cosgrave having a pretty good season here in the UAE, and has maintained his partnership with Hilal Al-Alawi, which is good to see. And tell us about Jean-Claude Picou, second on this occasion. He's a new trainer for us, and I believe he was in France. He's from France, and did he train in Morocco before coming here?
Yes, he did. For over 20 years, he was one of the top trainers in Morocco. Had his early career in France and decided to move to Morocco. He enjoyed there. He won a lot of races back then. I remember going to race horses in Morocco sometime when I had the chance on the big races day. And well-known trainer back there, and I guess he just came along. Met Jean de Roy back in Morocco when Jean was training there as well. So I guess the connection to make him come over UAE was the right move for him, because Jean-Claude is a good trainer and a good person.
Well, he certainly proved a good trainer, because we know that Jean de Roy is a very good trainer. And between them, they've managed to work wonders with Barak, who's now won a Group 1 and finished second in one. But we should really focus on the winner. And Stephen, Pat Cosgrave got off the other day and said he's better than Halal's previous very good Arabian Sniper de Monlau, who was a bit tricky. This guy just seems easier to manage.
Certainly a lot more straightforward than Sniper de Monlau, who seem to remember threw away a race or two at Abu Dhabi. They took him over to France, I think, for the big Arabian World Cup as well, and that was quite possibly the end of his career doing that. He was never the same since. But these colours have been with Halal for a good few years now, and they're very synonymous with big race success in America as well. And this horse, he looks the next cab off the ranks. I think the difference in him and quite a few American imports that we've seen in recent years, the likes of RB Mademoiselle and Paddy's days, that he's come over far less exposed. He's not had as much racing, and he's very much settled into a UAE way of life. He'll have never experienced. Well, I suppose he might have, in the back streets of America, might have had a similar experience to Halal's stable out in the desert in Al Ain, fairly back to basics. But no, he seems a very, very straightforward Arabian, and it's rare, Jan, isn't it, not to see headgear on.
Tell me about it. Yeah, they're tricky horses to train. Yeah. I've trained some of them myself, and I like the way I was looking at him in the paddock, in the pre-paddock, and I like the way he behaved and his attitude behind the gate, and the way, as a jockey point of view, I'm sure he enjoyed to ride such a horse who is going forward. So this seems like to be the leading Arabic horse coming up in the next few years.
Here's an amazing bit of Arabian trivia. He's the first RB prefix horse, so Rosebrook Farm bred horse, to win Matchroom Challenge Round 2. There we go. So well done to Diane Waldron, who bred this horse at her Rosebrook Farm in Florida, which is an amazing facility and has produced so many good horses down the years. And I suspect horses from there don't come particularly cheaply, because such is their reputation. So nice to see another one in the winner's enclosure there. RB Money to Burn would be probably one of the best of them.
I bet she wouldn't have used too many Saudi-bred stallions, though, would she? I don't really recall.
No, of course you can do things a bit differently with the Arabian breeding, can't you? We'll take another look at the closing stages, and for much of it, really, Anne, there was only going to be one winner. He just came with that smooth, sustained run, didn't he? Yeah, he make a nice move on the turn. Following horses was actually going forward, and he just went wide, and I think the jockey was controlling the race. He knew he had a target, and then he just followed him and take him all the way to the wire. We'd had a nice break coming into this race, the 42 days. They've done things differently with the Meydan Stakes, and indeed with this race. I mentioned this race was formerly run over 2,200 metres, which is quite a long way, and kind of went to quite often obviously a bit of a staying slower Arabian. But the Meydan Stakes now in December just feeds beautifully into this with a 40-day break. Is lovely, isn't it? For a top horse, that's kind of what you want.
That's exactly what you want. Exactly. Fresh him up after a race, and give a nice week off, and pick up some weight, and then get him back steady. And then 40 days, it's actually a perfect time to get a horse for such a level races like that.
The Saudi Cup is on the 20th of February, so if they go there, they've got a decent amount of time, and then they've got 5 weeks again to the Dubai World Cup, so the spacing's nice.
It's brilliant. It's not such a long trip as well, so if I was his trainer, I would do that. Purse money and the time in between races.
Well, it was certainly the plan before tonight, and I don't see why it would have changed after tonight. So we'll find out from Halal, who's having a really good season. A little bit light on the thoroughbred winners, but doing very, very well with the Arabian. So a raggedy start, and Amwaj breaking like that. How much did that cost her, do you think?
It cost a probably. I don't think she would have finished in the first two, but definitely a third place for sure. I mean, look at her how much she covered, and then from that point of the race, it was hard to make a run. Fabrice make a decision, said hold her back for a little while, and then cover some ground later on the race.
And the one at the back there, Barella, the Omani horse, he just hasn't seemed to have gone a yard under Harry Bentley. He's got quite an unusual action as well, hasn't he? He's got quite a high action. It's hard to see.
Yeah,
exactly. Right at the back.
Yeah, he never picked up the bridle, and he never went into the race. I don't think the horse was bothered to get involved in the race. Maybe some tools maybe can be used for the next race, or cheap help me out here, cheek pieces
or blinkers.
Or blinkers.
Yeah. Harry's tried everything. He's gone wide, which sometimes can just revitalise them if they're not getting dirt in their face, and the horse has gone a little bit better, but ultimately a long journey from Oman for nothing, which is a shame. I quite like such enterprise, so I wish Abdallah Al Balushi better with his next attempt, and hopefully the horse is okay. Sanjali at the back there in the black colours, as I said before, he's usually a horse who is up there bowling along. He just doesn't look his former self anymore, does it? It's a shame.
He's not the horse that he used to be, and I think he's trying to passing a message to his surrender.
Yeah, I think so. Another one worth watching, Stephen mentioned before in the yellow silks there, De Gaulle Latour. He's a horse who's he's, without really winning very often, he's only 2 from 16, but he's consistently held his own in these good races. He was 4th behind Barak last time, 4th behind RB French Dude, and tonight 3rd, so he's getting closer. Yeah, he's getting closer, but this is in terms of quality, he's a good horse, but he's not a great horse. Yeah, true, and I don't know if he's got necessarily time on his side to become a great horse. 17th start tonight, and he's 5-year-old, but you never know. He's by that very good sire De Hesse, and he's owned by Al Rahmani Racing, who are having a brilliant season and have a very smart youngster on their hands with that Curlester Rock, who's 2 from 2 at Alain currently. But the big race plaudits go to Byerley Racing, Pat Cosgrave, Halal Al Alawi with RB French Dude, which probably is how you pronounce it, and it's got a weird spelling, so everyone wants to say French. That's what Diane does with her naming. She likes to have a little bit of fun with it. They're quite well spaced across the track, aren't they? And did you find when you're training these Arabians, you do have to have a few tricks up your sleeve? Yes, you must do. Get him a lot of confidence, make things that control, and you have to you can't train them the way you train thoroughbreds, but it's all about their minds. You have to work on their mind more than on their fitness. Yeah, and just sort of cajole them a little bit. You don't want to be in front. If you're a jockey, you don't want to be in front too long on one, do you? Exactly. And I'm actually like this horse because you have no equipment whatsoever, and his attitude is very forward, and I really like this attitude on that horse. I was looking at him, like I said early on, before and behind the gate, and he's got a great attitude to become a good horse because he's only 5 years old and lightly raced. So I'm sure the best is to come with him as well. Well, the horse Ayoun finished down the field in our rope. No, but that is Patrick Ayoun on the left of Longines, awarding the trophies to the connections of our winner, RB French Dude, a son of, as Stephen mentioned, Basek Al Khalidia, out of a Majani mare. Well done to Pat Cosgrave. That takes him to 139 winners here in the UAE. He's got some nice rides coming up later on for Saeed bin Suroor, among others. And here's a reminder of just how they did it. Got to just keep Arabians up to it. There's no sort of saving them just to be a bit cosy. You need to keep driving them right the way to the line. Let's hear how Pat Cosgrave did it. He's with Stephen.
Yeah, John May, Pat Cosgrave after the victory of RB French Dude. Yeah, I think you mentioned last time the best Arabian you'd sat on, and that just backs up the view. Yeah, no, look, I rode him in Abu Dhabi, and he didn't really hand the grass and didn't go right-handed. And I said to my agent afterwards, I said, this is a really good horse, but he needs to go back to dirt and go left-handed. You know, and I thought he'd win the last day. Look, he tougher opposition today, and he did not a bad stall, but outside stall. And but look, as I said to Lal, he's one of those horses you can put him where you want. It's no matter. He's just very mentally straightforward, you know, and backs up with plenty of ability. And so he did it a little bit differently. You took a bit of cover, a bit of dirt, but he still picked up nicely. Look, I got to front too soon last day. On ride him, if you watched it at the front pole, he was running around me, but not on genuine, but just having a good look and things. And I said to Lal, I'm going to wait a bit longer till I get this straight. I just left in front too soon the last day, and
He wasn't genuine, but it's better to ride him to run at something down the straight.
Do you think they might go to Saudi with him next,
Definitely goes to Saudi next. I think it's Saudi and then probably back here World Cup night.
Just a quick word on your run in the next for Mike de Kock. Will improve a lot for that last run last time?
Yeah, look, he was well off a run, but nothing getting a run into him will sort him out, and he probably needed it again tonight. But Mike said get another run into him and bring him forward again for maybe a Meydan in 2 or 3 weeks' time. And look, nothing to get a bit of race experience into him. But I think he's going to be a nice horse in time.
Best of luck with him. Good start, Pat.
Thank you.
Actually, a first carnival win for Pat Cosgrove of this year, but a couple of good placed efforts, and maybe he'll be able to extend his tally later on this evening. Well, one man who could well have a really good night and indeed a really good weekend is Salem bin Gidea. He's got 4 runners tonight, and he spoke to Stephen about them.
We'll start with your runners on Thursday, Salem, and you've got 3 in the Bastakiya trial. It's as though Tarlo is the main pick, and a family you know well, of course, half brother to down under Bayo.
That's it, I hope the distance is gonna help him, just he ran. To be honest, just last race for him, little disappointed. I mean, we believe about his ability, but he must concentrate a little bit, just for the races. He's still baby, I mean. And what he show here, just by training, by gallop, that there is, just a signal he have ability. I hope, just it will be a beer tomorrow. Even just the distance could help him, just give him, just a confidence during the race. So we hope.
And then you have Irene as well, who came from France. Is a bit like McFan. Is he just learning how to race the Dubai way, that first race?
That's it, just he's have 3 start over there at France. One of them, just show like, I mean, good form, just. And no, he trained well. He come back after the first start with us well, continue his program. I'm pleased with his last gallop, so even with a long distance, just he's kind of a one base horse, so the distance will suit him and will help him for that race. So gonna see.
And then Kuchi Sabishi, the other one, he takes a big step up in trip, but that was obviously a very good race he ran in last time at Jebel Ali, wasn't it, behind Hurry Up?
Yeah, that's it. And even, just the distance will suit him more, I believe that.
Yeah. And have you got any better derby contenders at home that you're still to run? I know you're very patient, aren't you, with your 3-year-olds as a whole?
We're gonna see after the Bastakiya race, Stephen, just. But I'm sure, just we're gonna have one for that race.
And then the other runner on Thursday is Mail Shot. He's a very consistent horse, run solid races all 4 starts this season. Do you think he's ready to win?
He deserves to win, to be honest, just. This horse, he tried so hard this season, so honest. I mean, he have ability to win, so after his last winning 2 seasons ago, just even this year, like two races in Abu Dhabi, and the door, just he was so close, one step, just to win. So no, the horse in top form, and think, just even the mile, just we could give us chance. No problem, just mile 9 for him, but I'm sure he'll gonna run a big race, and he'll be there or thereabout.
And one thing he does need though is a strong pace, which he didn't get last time.
I hope, I hope, just we're gonna. I'm sure, just we're gonna get, just a fast pace. So it will give us credit for that.
Yeah, Salomon, 21 winners for the season already, going great guns, and we'll hear more from him in the course of the weekend. We talks about some of his stable stars, and he gives us an update on heavy metal as well. That comes up on Saturday. We're now on to our second race, which is the Al Bastakiya Trial. It's a little bit bizarre in that it's a trial for a trial, the Al Bastakiya itself being a trial for the UAE Derby, of course. Anyway, it's a conditions race for the 3-year-olds. Number one is a Group 1 winner, albeit a local one in Uruguay. El Patriota, Yerman, one of two for Mike de Kock. Al-Bakar, Al-Makab, quite well regarded by the Doug Watson team, but seemingly overlooked by their stable jockeys this evening. Move on down, we've got Areen, just heard all about him. Effective, possibly the best of the two Mike de Kock runners. Endifar, Fire Group, Grand Dubai. Kusibiashi, Leopardo, interesting runner for the Mark Johnston team. Sharp Spun, Spates Met, Tallow, and Final Thought. For me, the one to beat here. Let's hear from Stephen.
I'm joined by Antonio Sintra, who saddles El Patriota coming up. He's a lovely, big-looking horse, isn't he, Antonio?
Yeah, he's looking good. He's very happy. His workout was a good one, and I hope a good race for him.
He's rated 109. Do you think he is that good a horse?
He's a good horse, but in Uruguay, we will see in this kind of level.
And what do you think of the trip? Because obviously he won over further last time. Is he quick enough for this trip, do you think?
He like to run, he'll run, I believe, in the middle of the race and wait for the straight.
Well, we wish you all the best. Good luck.
Thank you very much.
Well, the race does really revolve around El Patriota. If he lives up to what he did at home, he could be pretty hard to beat here, but he does have to give away 4.5 kilos, which is quite a lot. This is Al-Bakar, who's the son of Commissioner. He's having his second start here in the UAE and first at Meydan. He was a non-threatening 9th at Jebel Ali last time, and I think he's going to struggle, though he would seem to be ahead of Al-Makab here in the Red Stables pecking order. That might be because Dane O'Neill rode Al-Bakar last time and has an agreement with the owners. Anyway, Al-Makab is a horse that's been quite well talked up by Doug Watson, but was quite a way behind Grand Dubai last time. This is Areen, who Royston French rides. Jan, I think he's going to struggle to get this one home in front.
Yes, he is. He was. Royston thought they needs a better horse on the grass. His best race was on an heavy ground back in the old days in France, on a Group 3. He needed to reassure him because last time he was not convinced. So he was hoping that he's improving from his first race than he rode him last time. So a bit of concern regarding his last race. So Royston was a bit. He wants to really see the best of him today.
Final Thought, I think, has a huge chance in this. She ran on really nicely when 5 lengths back behind Soft Whisper last time in the Guineas trial. She wasn't the best away on that occasion, so she does have to have work to do to some extent, but she gets weight here off the colt. She's really stoutly bred, and I think she has got a leading chance. Effective, as I mentioned, one of two for Mike de Kock. Fabrice Ferron rides him. He at least rode him last time, so we should know a bit about him.
Yes, actually, he was actually pretty pleased and saying that with Mick told him to give him an easy race in order to get him fit for the next race, which is happening now. So he thought that the distance should be better, increasing distance from last race. And definitely he was not 100% ready on that first race. So it should be he was happy with the draw, the number 1 in the gate. So a few things that to see that the horse can improve from his first race in the UAE.
Mike de Kock felt that both of these were capable of winning maidens, but that there might not be enough opportunities for them to do so. Hence they're running in fairly lofty company here in this Bastakiya trial, in which there are winners, or a winner in El Patriota and Grand Dubai, and of course Leopardo, who won back in the UK at Newcastle. And these are heading out. Stephen's back from his chat with Antonio Sintra. It's a fascinating race, largely because of El Patriota.
Yeah, he's obviously got that rating, which nobody knows too much about. Antonio seemed fairly lukewarm, but very realistic that his rating comes from Uruguay, and he had no idea, basically, as to how it would stand up over here. But he's obviously a nice horse. He was impressive in winning that last start. Was impressed with his stride. He's a lovely, long, galloping horse. he'll need to be good to defy the weight for age penalty that he's got here. But he's up against a lot of maidens, such as Endifar, who we can see going out there. This one's only had the one start. Did actually shape pretty well from a poor position in the maiden, but it's a big step up from a maiden, I was going to say, to this company. It's not exactly a listed race, is it? It's just a mere, what I would class as a novice race almost in England.
Yeah, because there's winners in here. Yeah.
The only thing is they don't carry a penalty, do they?
Yeah.
So it's not exactly a lofty race we're dealing with here.
And what about the last race he won? It was 2,500 meter. It seems like he's a pretty versatile horse. Can go either from a mile to a mile and a half. So if there's a strong pace early on, and he's a one-pace kind of horse, he can cover some ground in the end.
Yeah, he was fairly keen in winning that over that trip, but it was a concern of mine that from the gate particularly as well, they might want to be making plenty of use of him to try and offset that drop in trip. But I almost see it as this could become quite attritional. We've got a lot of moderate horses, I would expect, in this race. And staying, you're going to need to. You know, we're talking inexperienced 3-year-olds, and they're going to need to get the trip well.
Well, Leopardo's really interesting. His owner, as I mentioned on the winning line, is saying Lucer's quite clever with the horse he brings here. He doesn't bring many, and they do tend to do well. And this one cost enough, 80,000 Keeneland September sale. And he is a winner that came at Newcastle on the all-weather. I've always said all-weather doesn't equate to dirt, but he is dirt-bred, which would give him a good hope of possibly handling this. In fact, he should do. So is Sharp Spun. He actually made a really good debut behind Rebel's Romance last time. That was a really bold effort. If he steps up on that at all, I think he'll be very competitive here, for all that he's got a tougher draw in 11. We can have a look at this. Sharp Spun in the same silks that he carries there, and Grand Dubai in here as well. Yeah, and Rebel's Romance and Muhib, Nicholas Bachelard's colt, are too good here, but the fact that Sharp Spun was able to get to third, I think, speaks volumes for his ability.
Yeah, definitely. He was covered. Yeah, I mean, they were both. I mean, this is top class horses we got right there. I mean, they split the field by the last 200 yards. So Grand Dubai, still the horse who seems to be holding the level of that race. So see what happened. But I'd like to see some maiden coming up and improve from a debut. It'd be interesting to see.
I think he could well be the one, if there is going to be one that really improves. That's Space Percomet again, Stephen, a horse that carries a bit of a reputation because Doug Watson's been quite keen on him, but nothing really has really gone right for him so far.
No, he's not broken on terms for a starter in his 2 starts, which has put him on the back foot, and for an inexperienced horse he's just not been able to make up any ground. He's actually drawn wide today, 15 compared to 1 and 4 on his previous 2 starts. It might be, I was going to say, some sort of blessing, but when you're that wide, it's almost certainly not going to be. So Sam Hitchcock will have his work cut out. It's a very difficult race to weigh up, really. As we go through this series of races, the races begin to thin out, and there'll be just a few, like you said, with the Mike de Kock pair, just looking for a bit of extra experience here tonight.
Pat Dobbs doesn't actually ride in this race, so Sam Hitchcock would probably have had the pick of the Doug Watson runners, hence Space Percomet is the one he's picked. Tallow doesn't look particularly enthusiastic there. Was Mikel Barcelona hopeful of a good showing when you spoke to him?
He felt the same way than you.
Yeah. He looks tricky, doesn't he?
Yeah. He was not... he said he needs to... Last time he's not convinced, to be honest with you, and he'd like to see, hopefully, if some favourite doesn't perform, that grab some place in the end, but he was not very keen and convinced of that horse.
He's actually quite a forward-going horse once he gets going. He's led on both of his last 2 starts. Let's show you final thought in action there, and it's the way she picks up here, really, Stephen. And we think Soft Whisper's going to take all the beating later on in the Guineas, and the trip should suit her. I can see why she's well fancied. Yeah,
she already won over 1,900 metres at Wolverhampton in the UK, so this drop to 1,400 metres as it was in the Guineas trial was always going to be sharp enough, and you can see she saw her race out really well again behind Soft Whisper, who will be favourite for the Guineas later on. My one concern is a filly taking on the boys, 3-year-olds. It just wouldn't happen in England at this stage of their 3-year-old career, really, would it? Unless they were in handicaps. Certainly not at a more exalted level. So, while she's in receipt of plenty of weight, I would worry about her taking on the boys.
Yeah, she has got a bit more experience than some of these, which could just stand her in good stead. Well, speaking of experience, what about Leopardo? I think he's very, very interesting in here.
He is. he's obviously dirt bred, and Mark Johnston's horses rarely fail for not being tough enough, which is what they've got to be in this type of race. He was a winner at Newcastle on his debut. He's proven over further. He probably should have won last time, but for conceding first run to the winner at Wolverhampton, Sweet Bertie. That was off a mark of 87, which if he runs to something like that here, then he's definitely in with a chance. And Mark Johnston had a runner in this race a couple of years ago in Midland Park Racing colours that ran okay, I think finished third. It's their only horse here at the Carnival, so I wouldn't be surprised if he were to be good enough. I think he's going to need to lay a bit handy. I wasn't totally convinced with the early speed he showed in that Wolverhampton race.
Charlie Johnson earlier on in the week about him, and he just said, just a bit concerned about him obviously handling the dirt. You can be bred for it, but it still can be a bit of a shock even for a horse that's been running on the all-weather back at home. So he goes forward, Leopardo. It gives us 5 or 6 more to go in. Who's your selection here, Jan?
Well, I fancy the 7, Endifa, who interesting debut, finished closing very good 4th. Distance shouldn't be a problem. One pace kind of a horse. Jockey's in form, and we know how well his trainer does over in Meydan through the years. So it's an interesting horse to keep an eye for the future, or that one.
Yeah, quite a big price, around 20-1, Stephen.
I took a bit of a chance on Fire Group. I think he's one of the more impressive looking horses in the race. He's got a length to find with Grand Dubai, not necessarily bred to stay on pedigree, but he looks more of a stayer than the sprinting side of his pedigree would suggest.
I should be less imaginative and go with the filly Final Thought, the first of 19 Godolphin runners on tonight's card. Maybe she can start the night off well for the Blue Army.
And Leopardo for the UK. So they're moving in well. There's Kuchi Sabishi, Xavier Ziani in the saddle. Still a few out the back, including Endafar to go forward, El Patriota to go up. Taylor is still out the back, and Spades for Comet as well. Just working now on Yerman. Shadow Roller's been placed on after its first up run when finishing 8th. So Endafar about to go in for Adri de Vries, still waiting on Taylor for Macau Barcelona, and El Patriota for Wagner Leal. Spades for Comet out the back as well, Sam Hitchcock. So a big field here, we've got 15. Just the one filly, Final Thought taking on the boys. Now El Patriota's drawn a terrible gate, but goes into it now. Spades for Comet has drawn outside it. So the rights, gates go back and they're racing. Relatively even break. Endafar in the middle got a good start, so too to Grand Dubai. Effective over on the inside is trying to hold up into a spot. And right there, Final Thought now taking a hold. The rider Taylor charges around the outside. Fire Group in the red and white stripes. They were followed next of all by El Bakar as they go towards the back. El Bakar getting right up on the inside. They were followed as they race to the back by Leopardo between horses. El Patriota and Spades for Comet is out very deep. Kuchi Sabishi must be 5-6 wide going forward now. It's around the outside of El Bakar, who's slid back to be 4th from last. Next of all then is Yerman. Well back is Areen, and over on the outside is Sharp Spun. 25.86 was the lead as they run their way down the back, and Endafar has gone to the front, shows out by 3 parts of length. Taylor in second, up exposed third is Fire Group. Over on the inside then Effective. They were followed by Spades per Comet around the outside. Between horses the filly Final Thought, then Grand Dubai buried away the inside. El Patriota was next from Kuchi Sabishi, continuing to improve very wide. Leopardo is between horses. Over on the inside El Macab, then came next of all Deep Yerman, followed in turn by El Bakar. So they come down the side, then Areen, and back at the tail is Sharp Spun. Towards the bend they go, and Endafar is the leader as they go inside the final 600 metres now. Endafar slipped out by a length on Taylor. Up on the outside, Spades per Comet comes on strongly. Fire Group was just inside of it. They were followed by Effective as they turn for home, and El Patriota for Uruguay is down the outside running on hard. Endafar as they go to the 300 metres, but here's El Patriota. El Patriota for Wagner Leal out in the middle is charging home. El Patriota is up on the outside of Endafar, who fights It's hard. El Patriota went to the front, and a famous victory for Uruguay. El Patriota's going to race away, a win first up in the UAE. El Patriota, second's going to be tight. On the outside, Spatesburg Comet, and close up to with it is Endafar. They were followed by Fire Group. Next in was Effective, followed by Arene, Leopardo. Final Thought. Well back was Talo Grandabai, Kuchi Sabishi, then El Macabre, El Bakar. Well back was Sharp Spun, and one of the last to come in was Yerman. El Patriota takes it out for Uruguay. Drew the second outside gate. In fact, the horses run second. Spatesburg Comet drew the extreme outside. And El Patriota from Antonio Sintra has brought up a victory here with El Patriota. First night of the carnival. They had several runners last week, and they all ran very well. El Patriota came here with 2 dirt wins under its belt in Uruguay, and the smiling Wagner Leal has saluted here, and they will be going bonkers in Montevideo, no doubt. El Patriota takes out the El Bastakiya trial presented by Longines. Second will be Spatesburg Comet, living up to the promise that we thought of this 3-year-old. It's run its best race, covered ground, very good effort. And third will go the way of Endafar, who last time over the shorter trip came from well back but led tonight and gave them something to chase, but was run over in the late stages. 1:13, 7 and 8 Fire Group, a good effort into fourth position. Now 1:58.65 is a very good time. 1:58.65 is the winner's time here. Laser showed last year in the race went 1:59.88.
Well, we said the race revolved around him, and he has gone and won it and done it really nicely, El Patriota. He had a bit to prove beforehand. Was he really 109 horse? He probably still hasn't proved that. Could he cut back in trip? And he's handled it all beautifully. And you could see the win coming from quite a long way out, couldn't you, Jan? It was a good effort.
Definitely. And I think the fact that he holding the distance was a fact that helped him a lot, because the pace was decent. I didn't see a strong pace, but his strike in the end makes a difference.
Well, your selection very nearly pulled it off. I thought he was going to hang on there, Endafar. That was a fine run from him. Fowles would be able to win a maiden with him. And Spatesburg Comet as well. That was a good effort, fulfilling the high regarding which the Doug Watson team hold him in. He's finished second. And your Fire Group, Stephen, pulled like a train. Has done well to finish fourth.
Yeah, he may not just have stayed, and possibly more of a Guineas type. That's obviously going to come too soon now next week. But he's definitely a horse with ability. But yeah, the two horses in second and third, Spatesburg Comet and Endafar, they've run their races the other way around tonight and have shown much more as a result. But it was an element of the writing on the wall when El Patriota pulled out in the straight. I'd still say he doesn't do anything quickly. That might catch him out in a better race such as the UAE Derby, but he's got such a long stride that if he's in touch in the straights, then he'll certainly pick them up. And no, he looks a nice horse. One thing we've said about all the Uruguayan horses, they do look well, but let's not forget he is 6 months roughly older than the rest of these. He's that bit more mature, but you can just look at him size-wise compared to Spatesburg Comet there. He's almost doing 2 lengths to that one's 1.
Still not easy though, giving away 4.5 kilos, which he and Yerman have conceded to the rest of the field. It was, Antonio Sintra did admit before, something he was concerned about. How could you not be? The first winner here for Wagner Leal, the jockey, so well done to him. He's had a couple of rides here a few years ago. He's quite a well-travelled jockey. He's had winners in Singapore. And it's a fourth winner here for trainer Antonio Sintra, who's actually from Brazil but now trains in Uruguay, where he's champion trainer. He just won a Grade 1 there a couple of weeks ago, and he's a great guy. And we're down on numbers internationally for the carnival this year, Jan, but we've had 3 international winners already, and we're only midway through the second week, so it's going quite well.
Yeah, it is. That's actually what's the carnival about, to bring some people over the sea, pretty much everywhere. So it's good to see an Uruguay horse to come over here and perform. And again, this horse got. I'm sure it'll be an interesting horse if he can come back next year for the season and can take the route for the Dubai World Cup if he's improving, obviously.
So he's owned by Stud La Pomme. Does that? Please tell me that translates to Apple Stud.
Yeah, it's a well-known stud back in the South America, but La Pomme, yeah.
Not an Australian that named it with a bit of humour.
Yeah. It's been amusing me all week. I've been meaning to ask somebody. El Patriota, our winner of the El Bastakiya trial. He's a son of Ecologo, who's a Grade 1 winner in Argentina. That's the sire. And this horse hopefully go on and have a bit of a career at stud, because as I mentioned, he is a local Grade 1 winner back at home at Moronis. He won the Gran Premio Nacional on his most recent start back in November under jockey Jose da Silva. But it's Wagner Lille who's on board this evening. Wagner's got a suspension coming up.
Yeah, he picked up a 3-day ban last week, so he'll miss next Thursday. Obviously the only meeting he's going to ride at. Not sure what they'll have. There was the horse that was due to run in the Maktoum Challenge last week that was injured.
Trancafero.
Yeah, he might run in the fire breaks. That's one that he might miss. But this is some sort of compensation for him picking up this victory here. Nice bow tie on the silks as well.
Love it. On the right is Julio Alescoa. I think I've said that terribly. Who is Antonio's assistant, and they've been ever present here in the mornings, obviously overseeing their horses, despite the fact, as I said, they have had some quite big races over in Uruguay. I believe they did stop racing for a while due to COVID precautions, but they've started up again. As I mentioned, Antonio and his team had a big winner there a couple of weeks ago while they were here. They were watching on, and they said celebrating from Dubai, which is great. So we can watch the race again in a moment and get some thoughts on those in behind. It looked to me as if they went fast initially and then steadied things up, and we had sort of 5 or 6 of them in a line for the lead. The Mike de Kock pair, I thought both ran really well. He reckoned Defective was the better of the two, and that was a fine effort from him in 5th. If Mike could find a suitable maiden, he should definitely be winning races, and as will Endafar Fire Group. In Leopardo, the British Raiders finished 6th, which is in the prize money. He's picked up $1,000 for finishing 6th, which isn't too shabby. And here we see Wagner coming back in. Just his 6th ride here in the UAE. And there he is, highlighted for you. And he's just taken no chances, really, has he? He's taken him outside of everybody. Obviously, he knew the horse would be okay with covering the extra ground.
Yeah, and on top of it, he was carrying all the race, the weight. I mean, in terms of weight. So he's definitely a group horse, and he proved it today. No, there's no excuse. The best horse won on that race today, for sure.
Our cameraman decided that Endafar had won the race, and I'm pretty sure he will soon. Here comes the winner. He was very wide and did arrive pretty late on the scene. He looks, again, a nice, straightforward horse. No headgear or anything like that. And I guess it helps if they've got a bit of experience. This was his 5th start. Actually started out winning a maiden over 1,500 metres. Then was beaten. Not sure what went wrong on that day in conditions. Company over a mile. Then won over 1,800 metres. Then went up to 2,500 metres for his big win. And then back down in trip fairly considerably tonight to claim this victory. Of course, Antonio Sintra's biggest win here was in the Al Shindaga Sprint a few years ago, well, a long time ago, back at Nad Al Shiba with Heart Alone. Also picked up a win here with Ukrainian. These are his first runners here since 2011. Definite eye catchers to be found here then. Space per Comet, let's not forget, is the widest of them all at the moment. He was drawn in 15 in the Fipke Silks on the outside. Behind him is Kushish Biashi, who I still can't say, and up front at the moment, and he stayed there for much of the race, is Endafar. And we thought before there were a few moderate horses in there, but actually I think there's a few good horses in here too. Yes,
the future decent horses in that race. I mean, Endafar is one of them. After his a good debut, confirmed that he's improving, is in the right direction. As well, the Mick de Kock horse, Effective, who ran a good 5th, was cruising on the turning for home, and I'm sure the increasing distance will suit him next time. But there's about 3-4 horses to keep an eye for the future, and the one I just mentioned, Effective, seems to be one of them as well, the Endafar.
Endafar, under Adri DeVries there in the lead. He's a son of Muhara. You wouldn't have been convinced that they would take to dirt, but this one certainly has. He's out of a good mare called Love and Cherish. Endafar, the favourite, was pretty disappointing, wasn't she? Final thought. She's not liked perhaps the kickback, and she's been one of the first off the bridle. Yeah, true. I mean, no excuse. Besides, maybe she didn't handle the dirt as well, and fillies against the boy in that stage is always complicated, even with the Carrera, the lowest weight. There's a much bigger field as well last time. She only faced 10 rivals. She was right in the thick of things today. They were pretty well spaced out by the time she came to make her challenge. You can see there Harry Bentley's pretty much just eased her off, let her come home in her own time. At the same time as our winner is going for glory, and you knew really that Endafar, as bold as he'd been, wasn't going to be able to hold on. The other one closing quite nicely is Fire Group, who goes past Effectif in the closing stages, and Spatespa Komet hopefully has done enough to earn himself a crack, perhaps at the Al Bastakiya. Presumably if you finish first, second and third in this and your rating's high enough, you'll go forward to that Al Bastakiya on Super Saturday, and then depending on how you get on in that, potentially have a shot at glory in the UAE Derby. But I'd imagine with a mark of 109, El Patriota was pretty much guaranteed a spot in the UAE Derby already, and he'll still have to give weight away, but it's been done before in that race, notably by Mike de Kock trainees that have come from South America over the years. Still looking at the run of Spatespa Komet there. He switched leads nicely and has really fulfilled the promise that he's been showing at home in the mornings there. He's gone widest of all on Leopardo, and the green silks on the outside, presumably to keep him out of the kickback. So he's covered a little bit more ground than most of them. But he just looks like a big, powerful horse. You can see the extra 6 months that he has over these others, can't you?
True, and if you're looking at him right now, he's here with Prix, so I'm sure there's a leftover, and that was a good prep race for the Derby coming up, and the getting to know the UAE surfers, it's always a big factor, and I'm sure that will help him for the next race.
Let's hear from the winning connections.
I'm joined by Antonio Sintra after the victory of El Patriota. Did that give you a big thrill?
Yeah, after the race it's easy to tell, but Patriota is a very good horse. He's the Derby winner in Uruguay. The distance is a good one for him, and Leal was perfect, and then just celebrate.
You remember your last winner in Dubai? Not quite the same atmosphere, but still good?
Yes, 11 years ago, but it's like the first one. This one is like the first. Always we celebrated the same.
And what will you do next? Straight to the Derby or the Al Bastakiya first?
I have to see how the horse is going after the race, but I believe the Al Bastakiya, and after the Bastakiya, the Derby.
Well, many congratulations. Great to see.
Many thanks.
I'm thrilled for Antonio Sintra and team. They've given us some much needed international flavour into the carnival this year. It's quite brave to come here with what is, as he said, pretty much the best horses he has, or they have in general in Uruguay. And there he is, and proving once again that he knows just which horses to bring to Dubai. And there's plenty of trainers based here permanently that wouldn't have the strike rate he does. 4 from 70 runners is not too bad at all when you're based halfway around the world. And congratulations, I mentioned, to Studlapom, the owners of El Patriota. Patrick Ayoun once again doing the honours. I imagine he will be all evening. It's been a busy week for Longines on the sponsorship front. Of course, they sponsored the World's Best Racehorse Awards, which took place virtually. I wonder if anything's ever going to happen in real life again. Virtually earlier this week. And Gaiath, of course, was the winner of that World's Best Racehorse Award for Godolphin. Fognalale on the right there, just putting his face mask back on very diligently. Really great to have a winner there for Uruguay. We can return to matters more locally based now and hear from Salem bin Gadeh, whose stables are just over the back here in Nad Al Shiva, and this time he fills Stephen in on the plans for Capizano, among others.
And just a quick reflection on your carnival runners last week. Is Capizano just taking a little bit longer in your eyes just to get himself ready this season?
I'm sure just he'll come. I'm with 8 years old. I mean,
Yeah.
but there's no issue with the horse. I mean, sometimes by age, just you need more time. As everyone knows, Capizano, just we couldn't train him as all horses here, so always alone, always easy. We don't try to upset him. So this program maybe, just it's need time for us. I mean, I hope, just start to lose his sharpness, just. But no, I'm still pleased. I'm still believe about his ability. Even, just last race maybe disappointed for us, but even the first start for him in this season, just it wasn't so bad.
No. And where will you run him next, do you think?
I mean, there is two options to be honest, like Firebreast Stakes or just we're gonna go a bit farther. So I'm gonna check with the owner about that. So if it's not Firebreast Stakes, maybe just we're gonna try to find, just 9 furlong or even 10 furlong.
Okay. And we also saw Communique have his first start for you. He presumably arrived in your stable quite late and would have needed that run last week?
He arrived with the other horses, just I could say like end of October.
Yeah.
After the race, just even he cuffed like 10, 11 times. So I think for me, just he wasn't 100% ready, to be honest, for that race. But I mean, I said I'd like to put him in a race and give him a little bit, just at least to get a bit of fitness.
And we also saw For the Top. He ran okay. Do you think you might go to Saudi with him again?
For the Top, just it was the Bahrain race was, just in his agenda. So maybe just we was a little bit hurry with him to prepare him for that race. Then regarding the shipment issue, just we lose that chance. So we just give him a rest a little bit after that race because, just we push him a little bit more before the Bahrain race. We forget last race for the Top. I think, just if we get the invitation for Saudi, and I think we're gonna have that invitation. So he will go to the same race what he finished third last year.
And talking of Saudi, you mentioned to me that unfortunately Gronkowski and Axelrod have both gone there now. You've done a lot of work with these horses, but unfortunately you won't be able to see the fruits of your labour with them.
This is the life, Stephen, to be honest. I mean, especially with Gronkowski, everybody but to be honest, like me, everyone here, just we work a lot with, especially Axelrod, just everyone believe about this fella, just and we was a little bit dream about him. But I mean, end of the day, this is owner's decision, just Mr. Khalid Ben Mashrif called me and they try to get their horses, and for me it's normal thing, and we still, just contact Mr. Khalid about them. They're gonna run soon, I think, this week for Saudi Arabia. So what we could say, like, very good luck with them, just, and I hope, just to see him in the podium.
I think Salem could just be champion trainer at the end of the season. Doug Watson will push him all the way, and you wouldn't want to rule out Ernst Ortel or reigning champion Satish Seemar at the moment. But Salem's horses are holding their form pretty well this season. Plus, he's got all the new ones from Mark Johnston, including Blown by Wind, and some of those are yet to show their best and could well do so in the next few weeks. So it'll be an interesting battle this year for who is crowned top trainer. We're on to race 3 already here on Carnival Night 2. And this is one of 2 races on the card which are incredibly difficult to solve. Not that we got the last one right. This is our Longines listed Zabeel turf. Just the second year it's been run as a fancy listed handicap. Number 1 is High End 2 Royal Marine, former Group 1 winner no less. Rakib Al-Hawa for our winning line guest David Simcock. Rastrelli goes for Ismail Mohammed. Majestic Mambo on his best form would be a danger. We have Miller Kurtz. Jan can tell me how you're supposed to pronounce that. Star Safari, Seniority. Influencer is a half-brother to Welford, who's done well around here in the past. And we have Bright Melody, Passion and Glory, Al Maysan. Godolphin very well represented here. They have 8. Brilliant Light, Cape Cavalli, I think will run well, and Yeah Hayati, beautifully bred. The multiple Group 1 winner, Wedding Toast. It is a race that last year gave a certain lad who went on and really did cover himself in glory to some extent, and I believe they've got Group 1 aspirations for him back in Europe, but he's not here. High End is, and he's a full brother to Furnas, which makes me wonder whether Saeed bin Saror might stick this fellow on the dirt later on down the line. Saeed's quite keen to do that with many of his horses. However, he could well win this on the way. He's got some good form. Last time we saw him, it was in listed company at Goodwood when he finished a length behind the smart mare Ananerium. He's a horse that Saeed likes. I know that because he's told me so in the past, but also the fact that he's kept him in training at the age of 7. He's only had 7 starts, won 3 of them. That suggests that he's one that they're willing to put the time into. This is Royal Marine, who's a half-brother to Secret Ambition. That said, when they ran him on the dirt, he really did not seem to like it. That was only 1 start, that said. Since then, he went back to Europe and ran really well. In 3 runs in decent handicaps. Last time out, he was just a neck behind the prolific Ilarab. That was in a high-class handicap at Newbury in September. He's a second string, but only just, I would suggest. Got the red hood on there. That will come off before he loads up. This is Rakib Alwa for David Simcock, who told us about him on the winning line very candidly, actually. He said this horse had completely lost his way and become quite difficult, and then they gelded him and he rewarded them with a fabulous run in the Balmoral handicap on Champions Day behind Najord. Based on that, he could still be improving as a gelding, and he's a pretty big price here, and I don't think David was under any illusions, but the horse looks really fit, I think. He felt that he could maybe earn a check. This is Rastrelli. You got a bit of information on him, Jan?
Yes, I do. Beside the concern of the gate 14, from his surrender, the distance should be a problem. Actually, this is where he gets his best races. Very happy the way he ran last time out, running 5th. He's improved from his last race, so they look more to get a place than to win the race.
Yeah, last run really wasn't run to suit. They absolutely crawled, and Ectoran just dominated things from the front. Rastrelli steps up on that. I think he'll be close. Around about 12-1 for Dane O'Neill. He seems to have picked up some really nice spare rides this evening. Look at all these Godolphin caps. Quite the rainbow. There's Derek Poupard in the centre. Farrier to the stars. This is Majestic Mambo, who was a bit of a star in a small way when he was trained in South Africa by Paul Peter. He's since joined Mike de Kock and hasn't won here in the UAE, but the pick of his form is probably a Group 2 behind Ben Battle last year, and Fabrice seems to be riding a lot for Mike de Kock.
Yes, he does. He's been coming in the morning and ride some works over there. Concerning Majestic Mambo, over 320 days without a race, probably will give a nice and easy race in order to for the next race. Is a horse to keep an eye on it for the rest of the meet.
Yeah, I agree. Although when we spoke to Mike de Kock last week, he felt the horse was 3 weeks off a run, and obviously this opportunity's popped up, and they thought, well, a run's as good as a gallop. Might pick up some prize money, so why not go here? William Buick there, of course. Probably be leading jockey at the carnival once again. And the Godolphin team got the social distancing memo right, didn't they? This is Melicat, who used to be trained in France.
Yes, it was. It's actually a good form back in old days in France. It was, look at his first race in the UAE. He looked like he needed that race, and I'm sure he's coming to that race with much improvements. But his form in France was a decent. He was placed in the listed race, also placed in the group races. Consistent horse. I keep an eye on that horse on that race today because I looked at him on his first race and it was an interesting race.
Yeah, he is interesting. He picked up relatively cheaply at the September sale, 85,000 by Bashir Harari, who's just got so many nice horses here. This is Star Safari, one of the favourites, and he's having his second run since being gelded on his first journey. Absolutely hacked up here, beating the very smart Franz Kafka, broke the track record. That was 336 days ago. Charlie Appleby's pretty good at knowing what to do with his horses if they need time and all the rest of it. He's got a huge chance today. There's no getting away from it. Pretty well found in the market, but you can understand why. He's run 4 times. He's won 2 of them. And these are very similar conditions to which he was triumphant under last year, although that was of 54 kilos. He's got 59.5 to carry tonight. And also William Buick, well, including William Buick. It's the seniority, who, a bit like Melly Kurtz, had a bit of a pipe opener, I thought, last time. I actually thought he looked pretty fit. I saw him doing a bit of paddock schooling last week. A bit fit and a bit woolly was what I wrote down. He needed the run last time, and this trip will suit him better. He's quite a smart sort with William Haggas. I've always thought he's a bit tricky. Got the blinkers on and the shadow roll, which would possibly corroborate that. This is Influencer, who goes for Simon Crisford, another one who's come over from France.
Yes, well, Max, I talked to Maxime Guyon early on. Know the horse, riding another horse against him. He's a very consistent horse, always on the money. Nothing wrong with him. Just the fact to find out how fit he is coming to that race. I'm sure he is coming from Simon Crisford's stable. The distance should be no problem whatsoever. Like I said, he's always on the money. If he's got a good trip, he drew a good number. I don't see why he's not won't be hitting the board.
Yeah, I think he could well be in the frame as well. They haven't had a winner yet this season, a Crisford team, but it's only a matter of time. They've got a lot of horses, a lot of very nice ones. That's Bright Melody, who's one of the least exposed in the field, just had the one start so far, and was gelded right before when he started out. So here's Stephen.
Yeah, I'm joined by Ed Crisford, who's got a couple in this race. Are you happy with how they're going down there?
Yeah, no, going down well.
Cape Cavalli, you thought that was a good run on his reappearance?
Yeah, no, it was a really nice run. He obviously, it was a mile and one that day. He needs sort of this trip or further. But he came out of that race great, and he's been training really well, and looking forward to this race.
Hoping for a stronger pace than he got there?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, they went so slow in that run, and he was out at the back, and he really had no chance from where he was.
An Influencer, first start for you, first start gelded. Doesn't look as though he's a horse that takes much getting fit.
No, I mean, he obviously hasn't run for a long time. We're just getting to know the horse, but he, he's been training really nicely out here. He's taken to Dubai great. And I think he's going to run a nice race.
Quick word on Chance. Is he your best chance later?
Well, we'll see. Let's get through this race.
Right, best of luck. Thanks.
Thank you.
The yellow and the orange Godolphin hats in vision there. Passion and Glory. Another one's only had 5 starts. He's won 2 of them. He'd probably be higher up my pecking order than Bright Melody here, despite the fact it's his first run for 461 days, Passion and Glory. This is also his first run since being gelded, which is generally a plus. Although he went up £4 for a neck win at Doncaster when he last ran. That was in October 2019. The layoff is rarely a worry for Saïd bin Saror. It's Al Maysan. Jim Crowley rides this one, who's 2 from 2. It's an interesting horse. He was 2 from 2 before they gelded him. And since then, he's done pretty well as well. He's another really consistent one. Last time we saw him back in July, he was 5th behind Zabeel, champion at Newmarket. So he's been keeping some pretty good company. Nice chance tonight, I'd say. It's just so hard to know which of these Godolphin ones is going to pop up here. There was a bit of a surprise last week to some extent in the Al Fahidi Fort. With that, this is another one of them. This is Yahayati, who won the Meydan Trophy well last year, beating Timo Nurmos. That was over 1,900 metres on the turf. And then he ran on the dirt in the Bastakiya, was well beaten. And then since then, he just had one run at Ascot, Royal Ascot, in fact, when he was well beaten behind Highland Chief. Others preferred here for me. Any strong thoughts on the Godolphin horses here, Jan? It's pretty tricky. I think I'm with high end of the 8 of them.
I mean, beside the 7-horse Star Safari, who I believe he beat the track record last time, won really pleasantly. He's got everything for him, from gate number and looking at him on the paddock, look pretty on his toes. And I'd like to see the number 6 horse. Was an interesting horse back in old days in France, trained by Satish, to pick up, and also Royal Marine as well. Frankie picked him, obviously, so he's probably the best of the Saïd's horses in that field. And be interesting to see how those horses coming from Europe respond to Meydan tonight.
Yeah, so it's possible for the internationals to beat Godolphin in this race, in that they did it last year with certain lads. Stephen, these Godolphin horses, there's a lot of them, 4 or 5 starts, 1 races, they're all well-bred. Bright Melody, Passion and Glory, Al Maysan, brilliant Light Yahayati.
And you can see why they've all taken time, because they're all big, they're all strong, and you know the sorts of horses I'd imagine will be susceptible to the little niggles along the way that come with training. So we've most definitely not seen the best of at least 5 or 6 of these. I actually was quite impressed with the look of Royal Marine. You know, he is a Group 1 winner. His half brother Secret Ambition always impressed in appearance, and my memory doesn't quite stretch back to the last 2 carnivals that he's been here to know how he looks in comparison, but I was quite taken with him, and I thought his form last time behind Il Arab at Newbury is strong, given that horse has won 5 from 6. But Star Safari, I mean, he went as short as 6-4, which was ridiculously short for a race of this nature. He might just have drifted back out a bit now, but not hard to be impressed with that victory over Franz Kafka. £5 doesn't seem as though it's enough to stop him winning again, but I do feel as though he's coming up against, as you say, some horses here with potential still. It's just quite whether they're as good as him. I think you've probably got to be a group horse to win this.
Yeah, I think you do. It is a listed race after all, so it's not a huge leap up from there into group company. Were you at, would it have been Longshot, would it have been Chantilly when Royal Marine won his Group 1? Jean-Luc Lagardère of 2018.
Yeah, I don't recall that, to be honest with you, but was it that Chantilly you were saying?
It must have been Chantilly, wasn't it, back then?
I don't see all that far back on my paper, but yeah, he's a top class on the field also. But I said again, Frankie picked the other one, so I figure there's something about it. But I don't know if I decide or Frankie decided.
Yeah, I was going to say, so you might have picked that one for Frankie.
Yeah, exactly.
They go back 27 years. I'm sure they've got some sort of system worked out by now. If it is going to be a non-blue winner, Stephen, who's the most likely one?
I was quite taken with the run of Cape Cavalli last time.
Me too.
He was in a lesser race, obviously, but he was basically running on against a pace bias. The winner made all that day. So he was probably the likeliest for me to go on. Similarly, I thought Rastrelli ran well behind Ectoran. He stayed on from a long way back, and he's been a little bit dismissed. But Cape Cavalli probably just about the pick of them. Adre de Vries would be getting down to near enough his minimum weight at 55.5 to ride this horse, and he seems to be a bit of a go-to man. I think he's got a good chance later on Escobar, and picked up a nice, probably rare ride, I'd say, for Simon and Ed Crisford here.
He's just absolutely flying at the moment, Adri. He's probably just so happy with life, he's forgetting to eat or something. He can do these nice lightweights. He's just having a brilliant time of things, which is great. She wouldn't meet too many nicer people. I'm going to be really boring and stick with high end here, although around about 6-1 I thought was a reasonable price for him. I remember chatting to Saeed about him a few years ago, and he quite fancied him for a big handicap in England, but then he was subsequently withdrawn from said big handicap. So he's obviously a horse who's had a few issues, as Stephen points out. Quite a lot of these have, but watch out for horses just improving off first starts, recent first starts. As Jan mentioned, Seniority and Melly Kurtz, both of those look like they had a nice pipe opener last time, and the same similar comments apply to Rastrelli and also Cape Cavalli. So we know Craig relishes these tests. 8 different coloured Godolphin caps to call home. I'm sure he'll do it splendidly.
Challenge for the purebred Arabians. There's Seniority and Rastrelli about to go forward. Passion and Glory out there at the back, and Malicerts to come forward as well. Zabeel Turf race number 3 of the night, 2,000 metres, first of our turf races. And Bright Melody just angling the wrong way at the moment. But about to come in, Passion and Glory about to move up. Majestic Mambo and also Royal Marine out here for the third time. Back to Yahayati. The pink cap isn't the pinkest cap I've ever seen, I must admit. It's fairly insipid. Now we're almost set. Just about ready to go. All set, gates go back and they're off and racing. Star Safari and Seniority, two of the best to begin, with a Bright Melody and a high end going up on the outside. Passion and Glory, Malicerts bounced away okay. Forward also is Influencer, followed by Malisearch just dropping back a fraction now. Then came El Mason driving through on the inside of Star Safari, who's back a little better than midfield. They were followed over on the inside by Brilliant Light. Next of all, as they run their way down the back, is Yahayati, then Australia gap to Royal Marine. Cape Cavalli, and back at the tail is Rakib Al Hawa. So they run their way down the back behind a lead of 25 and 51. And Passion and Glory trying to work across ahead of Seniority. Up on the outside, a high end, followed then by Bright Melody. Majestic Mambo, the red cap, trapped out a shade wide from El Maysan over on the inside. Then Malisearch out wide. Between horses, the red cap is Star Safari. They were followed in turn by Influencer, trying to edge a little closer. Brilliant Light over on the inside, with next of all Yahayati around the outside, Rastrelli. Then came Royal Marine, Cape Cavalli, and back at the tail is Rakib Al Hawa. Down before the bend they come in the Zabeel Mile, or Zabeel Turf at least, and Passion and Glory shows the way, led by a clear length over high end as they come to the top of the lane. Majestic Mambo is handy and travelling over on the inside. Bright Melody needs a little bit of room. Malisearch up on the outside, followed by Influencer. Now Star Safari beginning to work home along the inside. The rest ahead of them by Rastrelli as they turn into the top of the lane. Passion and Glory collared out in the middle by high end and running on strongly. Bright Melody has got the run off the fence. Yahayati begins to present, and Star Safari looking for a bit of room. El Maysan back towards the inside. Hitting the front is Bright Melody. Yahayati up on the outside, goes to it now. Yahayati went to the lead over Bright Melody. Star Safari, and picking home from the back is Brilliant Light, but it's going to be a good one here for Yahayati. Yahayati wins by a length second. Bright Melody, they were followed up by Star Safari, then came Brilliant Light. Royal Marine next of all was El Maysan. A fair bit of blue there. Well back was Rastrelli. Cape Cavalli ran on late. Then came next in a high-end Passion and Glory, followed by Rakib Al Hawa, Majestic Mambo, then Influencer. Malisearch covered a fair bit of ground, and Seniority went back to the rear. So the win will go the way of Yahayati, coming with a well-timed run down the outside. Macau Barcelona and Charlie Appleby having his first run back from a gelding has been able to win here. Bright Melody travelled really well, got into the clear seemingly at the right time, and just pipped over by a stronger one tonight. Star Safari weaved his way through, and Brilliant Light has come from a long way back. Then Royal Marine and El Mason. So the Zabeel Turf taken out by Yahayati for Charlie Appleby and Macau Barcelona. Good performance to win. All the details to come up soon on the third race of the night.
Yahayati has relished his return to Meydan after a pretty disappointing, albeit brief, effort in the UK. He has now extended his winning record on the Meydan turf to 2 from 2. And he won the Meydan Trophy last year over 1,900 metres. Now he has landed the Zabeel Turf over just a little bit further. It was a great race for Godolphin there, Jan, and a difficult one for us. We couldn't really work out which cap colour was which, because that's not very pink.
Well, luckily I'm not colourblind, and I know it's the Blue Silk who won it. But it was a great ride from Michael Barzona, who just set and came flying in the end. Amazed at the work done from Mr. Appleby, who brought this horse after 230 days without a race. Amazing work as a trainer perspective to bring a horse such in top form for after a long time layup.
Well, he's beaten Bright Melody, Star Safari in third, Brilliant Light fourth, Royal Marine fifth, Al Maysan sixth. So high end, who actually ran quite well, I thought, has not even finished in the top six, and he was one of the several that we said there could be so much more improvement to come from him, because he's had such little racing so far. Yeah,
he was a tricky horse last year, wasn't he? Obviously, they went on the dirt with him for the Al Bastakiya, where he just didn't handle the dirt. Many people felt, given his breeding, that he was well worth a try, obviously. And then sort of stereotypical prep, really. One run at Ascot and then saving for here. But the gelding operation has seemingly made a difference. He's looked fairly straightforward there. Beat Bright Melody. Star Safari, I thought, was a little bit laboured. He had his chance in the straights, finished third. Nothing that you would necessarily class as too eye-catching in behind, but that's not to say that any of the first six can't win next time, because it's, they're all fairly well unexposed still and still have time on their side, with the possible exception being of Royal Marine, who's run okay in 5th.
He's getting 2.5 kilos off Bright Melody. It was Yahayatu, who had joint bottom weight of 55.5. And Mikel Barcelona, world-class jockey. We all know what he's achieved in his career. And doing a lightish weight's no problem for Mikel, is it?
No, never been an issue. I know him. He rode for me. He was an apprentice, and he looked like the same young boy that I've seen him early on his days 10 years ago. And after an amazing career that he's been having, he's such a great person. A young father as well. And he's been very consistent through the last 10 years since he's been on the game. And I'm happy to see him still winning a lot of major races.
He's been in the fixture here for a number of years now with the Salem bin Gidea team. He actually rides for them on Saturday this week, and that takes Mikel to 84 winners in the UAE from 574 5 rides. And he's in a nice position, really, isn't he, Stephen? Because he can often get on the Charlie Appleby third string, and there's very little, in many cases, between the first string and the third string.
And anything below 55, 56 kilo. And I think William Buick can do a little bit lighter nowadays. But, essentially anything less than 55 kilos. And he could well be on a first string. We just don't know. But he's one of the best around here. Never panics. It seemed a fair race. We'll obviously have to have a look back. But the pace seemed honest enough with seniority and one or two others up in front, it was a fairly run race, but you can't help but feel a little bit disappointed that there was nothing else that could make any impression on the Godolphin sextet that dominated.
I'm not particularly surprised. That takes Charlie Appleby to 98 winners here in the UAE, so could do it today, get the 100 up, but probably by next week.
Definitely, you'll probably win the Cape Verde, I'd say. Stick my neck out, and then he's not exactly mob-handed in the last turf races. He key victories amongst the favourites. So, yeah, he might be stuck on 99 overnight, as they say.
He'll survive till next week. And take a look at it again. They never go a hugely fast gallop on the turf course. It's the high end at the top weight who was quite nicely away under Frankie Dettori. Probably found he had to work at him a little bit earlier than he would have thought. Another one that's prominent there is seniority in the green silks of Nasser Askar. Godolphin black cap carried by Bright Melody is up front as well, and the yellow cap on the far left of your picture is Harry Bentley, who's just looking to see if he can track across there on Passion and Glory, who's run another good race. And in behind, in the red cap, is Majestic Mambo for Mike de Kock, who's raced perhaps a little bit keenly, and Melly Kurtz on the outside as well. And at this point, the winner in the pink cap, Yahayati, is towards the back of things. Well, sort of buried it in the middle there, Jan.
Yeah, definitely. He was hiding well covered and just waiting for a gap to open. But perfect race, perfect ride, and it was actually a decent pace as well. You can see the horse in front of the red silk was bringing him getting close to the lead, getting close, to the pack. So you have to be patient. And Mikel knows how to be patient, and he learned that from all the order that I give it to him back in the old days when I used to tell him to sit and wait.
Maybe he'll attribute this victory to you. He'll thank you for that advice many years ago. He's actually tracking through, or he was, a Star Safari in the red cap, who looked as if he was going to weaken. Then he's kind of got another wind and gone on again to some extent. Mikel's switched around him, and then indeed switched around Bright Melody, the eventual second, who it looked as if he was going to win, but at this point it was always going to be for Yahayati, who actually did something similar when he won here last year, swooped with one determined run and was never going to be caught. Stephen mentioned he's beautifully bred, being out of a multiple Grade 1 winner on dirt in the States. Wedding Toast, she was a really good filly for Godolphin, and they're lucky, these trainers. If he's a bit of a tricky horse, a lot of owners would say you can't geld one with that sort of breeding, but Godolphin have got so many beautifully bred horses that can go on and be stallions. There are various studs across the world that some of them, if the trainer thinks you can get better out of them by going for the gelding operation, that's what they do, and it certainly worked in the case of this horse, who we get to enjoy at the carnival, hopefully because of it, for a few more years. So it's good from a race goer's point of view. I think if we run this race again, there could be others who have a say as well. I mean, there hasn't been a great deal in it in the end, and certainly Bright Melody, the second, is capable of picking up a similar race. Yeah, definitely. No, I mean, it was just blue silks in there. Nobody has been close enough from all those silks. I didn't pick any other horses. A bit disappointed from Influenceur. I thought he would run a better race, looking his form back home.
as well Melicertes, who had a pretty decent form back in France as well. But I'm sure, and this horse will definitely improve that winner from after long layup from that race. He definitely will, and after being gelding, should be going back to the group races back in the UK, I presume.
It really is a powerful angle, the first time gelded angle, isn't it? Why? Can you sort of explain a little bit more about why it works? Is it just because they become easier to train?
They're easier to train. I mean, back in my days, the pedigree was not an option. So when he had some Dubawi, I'm sure my owner would tell him not to gelding the horse.
Absolutely.
So, but what's the point if you want to? And in a point that, and particularly with the colts, it's better not to wait that they're turning to be stallion in one point and said, oh, I should have done that before. So might as well doing earlier. When you see, then they're not turning to be a group horses, and turning to be a stallion in the future.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. So Charlie does it with a lot of his horses. He doesn't sort of hesitate. And as a result, as I said, we get to enjoy them at carnival upon carnival. The likes of Dubai, of course. Glorious journey as well. And now this fella Yahayati, successful at 2 carnivals, which does take a bit of doing. And so when he won here last year, it wasn't perhaps such a good race. It was only a conditions race, the Meydan Trophy for 3-year-olds only. Beat one of the Scandinavian horses, Timo Nurmos, off a mark of 85. He's won today off 92. And you can totally understand them running him in the Bastakiya. Charlie doesn't generally have as many horses for the dirt division, so he thought maybe I'll see if I can make a UAE Derby horse. Didn't work, but no harm in trying. And there's Derek Poupard. Very astute, clever farrier. He's to some degree revolutionised farriery with his stick-on shoes, and a really great guy to chat to as well. He's based out here in the winter with Charlie Appleby out at Marmoon Stables, and then he returns to Newmarket over the summer. So congratulations to all of Team Godolphin. Charlie Appleby, I don't think here this evening, overseeing things back at home in Newmarket. We'll hear though from our winning jockey, Mikhail Barcelona, in fine form already this carnival, and with some really nice rides to come later on in the weekend. He's on perfect inch for Charlie Fellows in our Cape Verde. He'll do well to get that one home in front, although she does have some good form from France. And so always good to see Mikhail here on a Saturday card as well. He also rides Mail Shot later on for his boss, Silent Bin Gidea. We can hear from him now.
I'm joined by Mikhail Barcelona after the victory of Yahayati. I don't suppose you've ridden too many Godolphin winners in the pink cap there, have you?
No, that's going to be the first time, really. Yeah.
And you got a nice run through. You were following a horse, Star Safari, who you won on last year, so you presumably knew you were tracking the right one.
Yeah, exactly. I was pretty happy to end up just behind Star Safari. My horse was nice and relaxed behind him, so got a lovely run, and it's been tough enough to go to the line.
I think it was a bit tricky last year, but gelding seems to have helped him.
Well, that was my first time I was associate with him, but actually it was pretty nice with me. It was nice in the gate. I knew that was his difficulty before. I think we went a bit lucky as well. We went a nice gallop earlier, and he's been cycling straight away, and I think that helped us as well.
Got a nice spare in the next ride. The race perfect in. She was second in France last time, but she looks as though she's going to need to improve. Do you think?
On paper, it looks like a chance to be placed, but maybe not to win. But it's quite open after one or two Godolphin horses. So we'll see. We'll rather relax at the back, except the pace is slow, and we will see how we get on.
Good luck with her. Well done here. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
It was good to hear from Mikhail Barcelona. Our feature race is coming up. It is the Group 2 Cape Verde, and we've got an interesting rider in there from Scandinavia. We can find out more about her now. Welcome back, and I have to say congratulations. You're a champion jockey again back at home in Sweden.
Yeah, thank you very much.
It's great. So 17 times you're telling me now you've been champion jockey?
Yeah, it's 17 times in Sweden.
It's amazing.
Yeah, very nice, very good.
And you're here with 2 horses to ride this week. And tell me about Khatun, because she's quite new for the trainer. Dina had her since December, you told me?
Yes, she came in the beginning of December. So don't know so much about her, but she been training good, so I really hope she run a good race.
And she won over the 1,200 metres before.
Yeah, she won first time out. She won quite easy.
Okay.
So she been working very nice, so we'll see.
And what do you think about the extra distance this week?
I think the distance is no problem for her. When she won the 1,200 sprint race, she come from behind. So the last 200, she just picked more. I think the distance will not be a problem.
And I've seen you on the training track here. Has she also been on the dirt here?
Yes. Today, the second time she been the tapete, but all time she go in the main track.
And did you watch the Guineas trial the other day? What did you think of the local horses?
Yeah, I see the Godolphin one easy now. So I really hope my filly she run a good race, so then will be happy. When I won her, I sit behind the lead. So I know they have more pace now. He go good pace in the beginning. So I don't know. We see how when it jump.
Yeah. But it's hard to know. But you think she's good enough to compete with these horses?
I know it's a little more tough now. But like I said, I will hope she can do good race. So then you know for next time for the Oaks, the plan she's gonna be in the Oaks too after Guineas.
Okay, and Dina will travel over to watch her for the Oaks?
Yes, when she run in the Oaks, she's gonna come.
Okay.
Like a week before the race.
Oh, that's good. And the other horse you ride, Silent Night, for Patrick Wall, and we know that she can compete in Dubai. She ran a great race here last year.
Yeah, she did it very nice. She's been second now. So I think we see. She feels very good. She works very good. So I believe she gonna be there.
Yeah. I think she will. She's only rated 90, but I think maybe she's better than 90.
Yeah, I think so. She's a tough field. She's very tough field. She back home. She win the boat to Guineas in Sweden, Norway. So we see here, but she feels very well.
And she's also just won an award. She was 3-year-old of the year and filly of the year, they tell me.
Yeah. She's the best filly, 3 years old.
Yeah, and what about her in a race? Where would she like to be positioned in the race, do you think?
I remember I rode her first time out when she won easy. But it looked like I watched the race all the time. And she be like in the middle of the race, so sometimes behind the leader. So then she got some speed left.
Okay. So you're hoping just to sit handy with her?
Yes, I really hope I can sit good position, so then we'll see.
And tell me about you, because the last couple of years you've been here, you've had lots of winners, the other tracks, but this year you're coming late just with these horses. Yeah,
because first about this corona now, for all the places like that problem. So about today, I decided to go with the Swedish Scandinavian horse, but then it come so late this time, so that's why I come late too.
Yeah, okay. And will you go back with them, or will you stay to ride in the other tracks?
I think I will stay. I will stay maybe. I think I will stay after.
Yeah, to get some. You ride Alley in Abu Dhabi.
Yeah, I hope I get some wins again.
Yeah, you've done well here before.
Yeah, last season 5 wins, so I need to win in Meydan now. I will hope.
You never won in Meydan,
no.
right?
Yeah. Jabla, Lane. So I will hope this time maybe can have one win.
I think of the two of those, Silent Night probably has the best chance. She's certainly been a bit ignored, and you can understand why. The Godolphin horses in there are class acts. That's coming up in our Cape Verde. But good to have Elion back here, and hopefully, as he says, he'll stick around and maybe pick up some nice winners towards the end of the season. He's very effective on the Arabians, as well as he said there. So we're on to one of our big races tonight, and we'll give you the conditions for it if we can. It won't be long before the horses are making their way into the parade ring for our Group 2 Cape Verde, presented by Longines, a race that was first won in 2004. So Group 2 now. Althika, really lovely finish. We're on a 4 grays in here. Dubai Love, number 2, Last Look. Unbeaten filly, 3 from 3. Perfect Inch for Charlie Fellows. Had 2 winners out here from just 14 runners, which is a pretty good tally. Quiet Times for Pia Brandt, who's also got a good record in Dubai. 2 winners for her so far. Silent Night, Stunning Beauty, the other unbeaten filly. She's 2 from 2 and really is very well thought of by Saeed bin Saror. Stylistic for Roger Varian. Summer Romance. Certainly got the best form, having been deemed good enough to take her chance in a Guineas. And when we last saw her, she ran in a Grade 1 at Deauville, Prix Jean Romanet. This is Althika. I love this filly. I think she's really tough. And she's been beaten, but gone down fighting on both of her last 2 starts. One of them was at Deauville over a mile, and then she's beaten favourite behind Foxtrot Lady in the Scepter Filly Stakes at Doncaster. I thought they were really game efforts. She's run 3 times in group races and been placed in all of them. I fully expect her to maintain that record this evening. She was a listed winner prior to that at Deauville. Charlie Appleby's so adept at sending horses over to France and winning. He just picks the right races and gets them there fit and well. He's a super strike rate over there. This is Althika, a daughter of Dark Angel, from a lovely family actually. The dam, Miss Trusting, was pretty smart, and her dam was called Miss Shea. She had a big white face, remember rightly, and she was a pretty useful filly for Clive Britton a few years ago. And Althika's one that they said way back really in the summer we're going to aim her at this series of races in Dubai. The only thing that's really put me off her this evening is the big class drop from Summer Romance and the fact that William Buick has chosen Summer Romance over Althika. But she's a bonny filly, and if she is beaten, it will be she'll go down on a sword, she'll go down fighting, and she's drawn in 9, which isn't great, but they'll probably crawl around here in a little bunch, I imagine. Sophie Chrétien in the centre there, incredibly hard-working travelling groom for Godolphin, or travelling assistant. This is Dubai Love, the winner of the Guineas here last year and 2nd in the Oaks. She's been seen to best effect, really, I'd say, on the dirt out here. But she did run really well on her return to England. A couple of starts there. She was 3rd at Royal Ascot, and then she was 4th in the Musadora at York over 2,000 metres. Drops down a bit in trip today. She does have a bit to find, but not a great deal. She's only rated at £1 below Althika, and therefore £5 below Summer Romance. This is Last Look for Harry Bentley. And Jan, you were impressed that Charlie Appleby got one back after 200 odd days to win the last race. Do you think Saeed bin Saror can do it after 524 days with Last Look?
Definitely. No surprise on that. Well, looking at the form, it seems like she probably will definitely need the race. I'm expecting to a good race after a long time on the bench, but definitely a horse, a filly to keep an eye, because his previous form was decent.
She's so well bred. She's a full sister to Far. Any pattern, any black type next to her name would make her very valuable. This is Perfect Inch. She last ran at Deauville.
Yeah, she did. Spoke to Michael about it. I mean, he won the race when she ran second with another Godolphin filly trained by Alex Pantal. Looks beaten during the race, and bravely she just come back and get the 2nd place. She was, and actually my mistake, she was beaten by stylistic pretty pleasantly, and think that there's a better horse in that field. But you never know. With a good trip, but like he said, she's a tough filly. She can battle and get a place in the end of it.
Quiet Times is the one that was beaten by the Godolphin filly Alpen Rose last time. You have to respect Pia Brandt. She's very good at bringing horses.
Ran 2nd. It was an amazing race from her. She drove 16 out of 16, running 1,500 meter. She was set on last on the race and makes so much ground. If she would have drawn a good number on that day, she would have won the race easy, regarding what she was saying. In terms of her form, she said she's traveling really well. She said that she had a bit of setback in terms of preparation, and she would love to have another workout for her. But a goal, I mean, she still want to win that race no matter what, but she's looking more ahead for the Balancing Stakes, which is target the next race after that one. She says she's in good form, but a bit of a time off out and coming to that race. So she thinks she might need a race in time to be 100%.
This is Stunning Beauty, who, as I thought, is the biggest in the field. She's a beautifully well-bred daughter of Shamadal out of a good race mare, and indeed a pretty good brood mare in short skirt. She's 2 from 2. We'll try and show you one of her wins later on when she trounced a pretty weak Leicester novice field by 7.5 lengths. The 3rd and 4th have been well beaten from this race since, and they were a pretty moderate bunch. But you can only do what you can only beat what's there, and she did that incredibly well. Saeed bin Saror pretty much straight away said she goes to Dubai, we put her away, she needs time to strengthen up, and you can't fail to be impressed with her physically. Summer Romance has gone down to the start early and has still got the hood on at this stage, suggesting she's buzzy, which Kingman's can be, and she's probably got the best form here. She cost enough as well, 800,000 euros, being at half sister to Group 1 winner Rosina will do that. And she was the winner of the Group 3 Princess Elizabeth at Epsom. She finished 8th in the Guineas in the UK. That sets the standard. This is Stunning Beauty again. Are you as impressed as I am with her physique?
Yeah, she looks in form. She looks ready to run. She's on her toes, and she's got the red hoods. Means that she's a bit of a nervous kind of filly coming to the gate. But no, she looks well. I'd like to see how she's going to perform, because she's stepping up in level on coming to that race.
She is. I just love the fact that Saeed's had this as her aim for ages. I think that's great when trainers, you need to be backed up by your owner, of course, to say, I'm going to put this horse away in August, I'll see you all again in January. You need a patient owner, don't you?
Definitely. I'd love to have those kind of owners. Sometimes they get impatient. But when you have some world pedigree like this filly, the goal is to get a black type, and I'm sure this is what they're heading to.
Yeah, she's a huge danger to the Charlie Appleby pair, no doubt about it. This is Stylistic. That was Stylistic. This is another look at Althika, who...
She's not a big filly. Looking on the paddock, she's a tiny thing. But I'm sure if he brought this filly in that race, she must pretty decent and show something in the morning.
Yeah, and she's another one, as I mentioned. This has been a long-range aim ever since she was second to Foxtrot Lady here in the Scepter Filly Stakes at Doncaster. This was a really strong lineup. She'd been on the go all season as well. She's had a pretty busy campaign at Althika, and the winner Foxtrot Lady just has a lovely run here along the rail, and whereas Althika had sort of been out there as a bit of a target for the others for some time, and it's a bit of a cliche, but I don't think she lost a lot in defeat here.
No. Actually, she battled really hard to hold on for second, I presume.
Yeah.
But like you mentioned, she had a long season. I'm sure fresh up and bringing him to the nice and heat weather in Dubai will help her for the future.
Charlie Appleby has won the last 2 editions of this Cape Verde with Perfect Charm and the wonderful Magic Lily, who came here and completed the Balanchine Cape Verde double.
I like this filly, the way she's moving. She's nice and relaxed. She was a bit more nervous coming out from the paddock, but she looks pretty nice on the toes coming to the gate.
Well, this is the Leicester demolition job, and she was very well fancied on this occasion. Saeed often uses these smaller tracks to give his horses more experience. It's not the most straightforward of tracks, as you can see there, but she just powered away from them beautifully.
Definitely one easy. I didn't see from all the race, but looks like she won really impressively on that race. I don't know what kind of filly she beat on that day, but the way she was moving looked like she's very comfortable.
Yeah, she's not beaten a great deal. That is the concern. I mentioned she's well bred. She's actually a half sister to Volcanic Sky, who was 6th here last week behind Walton Street, and also to a useful enough filly called Mini Dress. So, Stunning Beauty. I could have had quite a lot of fun with the name Short Skirt, but that's what they came up with. Any further thoughts on the non-Godolphin horses in there? We mentioned Perfect Inch, and I'm interested with Stylistic. She's a first runner here for owner Yvonne Jacques. Roger Varian wouldn't be one to waste an entry, so they must think that she's got improvement in her, because I do think she needs to improve to take this.
She won really easy on the all-weather track at Deauville. I'm just concerned about the distance. She seems to be more comfortable going from 2,000 and 1,900 meters. Looking at that previous race, it took her time to get on her feet, and then she finished strongly. If she gets a strong pace, it might help her to finish up on that race.
Yeah, I can't see there will be too much of a pace on in here, Stephen. What do you reckon?
Yeah, it seemed a perfect or a match between the pace and those that need further, and the likes of Althika and Summer Romance, they seem to, it seems as though the Cape Verde is going to be their race. They're not necessarily bred to stay much beyond the mile, and then you've got the likes of Dubai Love, a couple of others. Stunning Beauty may need further in time, and certainly Last Look done all her racing over further, so it might be that one of Saeed's horses goes forward to make this a test. I suspect William Buick and James Doyle will be quite keen to keep a hold of their fillies. You can see how Summer Romance has been keen in her races. She was quite eager to get on with it. She's got the hood on. So yeah, the early stages will be crucial in this race, because I think there'll be one half of Godolphin that want a steadily run race, the other half that might want a strongly run race. And
what was your eye catcher from the parade ring?
I was quite impressed with Quiet Times. I was trying to get a word with Pia Brandt, but unfortunately she was required elsewhere. She was quite a little bit agitated, if I'm going to be...
Pia or the horse?
Both, I suspect, after answering 9 questions from the previous interview. But yeah, she sort of had that Zenyatta stamp about her.
Yeah,
at
it was
times.
great, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Properly striding out. It was lovely.
I don't know whether that's a positive or a negative.
Positive or a negative when you see them sort of...
No, I
Zenyatta
don't mind. It's more about the sweating that I'd be more concerned. If they're jumping around like that and not even pick a sweat, I wouldn't be. It's just a happy horse. Maxime thought actually Pia was telling him that she thinks she's as good as L'Amour de Ma Vie was back then. Don't know about the field. The same one back in 2018, if I recall. But that race was actually a nice race. Coming to that race, but like I said, Pia was a bit concerned. She needed one piece of work. If it's not that race today, it'll be probably the Balanchine the next one. I don't
know if we'll see it, but she's got the front ankle guards on. It's almost like she clips herself.
That's why she had those protection things, because I'm sure she's a bit crooked in front, and I guess it helps not to bang herself.
Godolphin have made a pretty good start to the evening, as you would expect. Maybe they can pick up this race once again. They've been pretty dominant in it over the last few years, as our dual horse of the year from Sweden heads forward there. Silent Night, she's in the gold silks. She was filly of the year last year, and also I think 3-year-old of the year. It'd be lovely to see her run a really big race for Patrick Wall, who's been here for a couple of weeks overseeing her preparations. That is Stylistique. So will it be Godolphin, or will it be another one for the internationals? Cape Verde is up next.
Final 2 coming forward. Quiet Times takes up its spot now, and now Thika to come along for James Doyle. Will be right to go. So almost set to run. Starter sends them away in the Cape Verde, and slowly out was Last Look. Pinging away was Summer Romance straight to the lead, and Summer Romance out by 2.5 lengths early. Stylistic up on the outside to second, to third Stunning Beauty, just getting a fraction keen. They were followed as they settle by Silent Night, and over on the inside Last Look, who's improved from Dubai Love. Then came Quiet Times, Perfect Inch to the outside, and 2 away last is Althika. Down the back straight they go, and the front runner going quite keenly here. Summer Romance is out by 2 lengths over Stunning Beauty in second. 24.92 is the lead. Over on the inside, Silent Night, followed by Stylistic up on the outside. Then Last Look travelling okay over on the inside, followed by Dubai Love with the red cap. Then Quiet Times, Perfect Inch, and back at the tail is Althika. Down towards the bend they come, and Summer Romance, full of running, is out by 2 lengths over Stunning Beauty in second. Silent Night still travelling okay over on the inside. Stylistic was next from Last Look, Dubai Love. Then Quiet Times, Perfect Inch, and back at the tail of proceedings is Althika, about to peel to the outside, but for home they come, and Summer Romance is well clear. 420 metres to go. Summer Romance given a little bit more rain by Buick, and out by 3 lengths off the fence. Silent Night finishes okay, and Althika's coming from the back with Stylistic. Not a lot left with Summer Romance. She begins to paddle, and joined by Althika out in the middle and Stylistic in the middle. They got a bit tight for room there. Ducking in is Althika, but it's gone to a clear lead over Stylistic. and it is Althika who races away. Althika wins by 2 lengths over Stylistic, and By Love finishing on behind them as they've gone across the wire was Silent Night. They were followed next in then by Quiet Times, and getting very tired towards the end was Summer Romance. Well back was Last Look, and one of the last to come in was Stunning Beauty. Stand by, but big performance by Althika. Settled dead last, but came with a booming run. Of course, said before tonight, it never missed a place, and that continues on. It's now won 4 of 8. Placed second twice, placed third twice. Brilliant performance by Althika, and Charlie Appleby and James Doyle continue on in the Cape Verde. Stylistic was very good. Head on will be interesting. It got very tight for room with about 200 metres to go. And Dubai Love has finished on strongly down the outside. Silent Night running a terrific race. Loomed as a legitimate chance with about 300 metres to go, but just the finishes down the outside just a little bit too strong for Silent Night. Big performance. Althika takes out the Cape Verde.
So it's another Cape Verde for Charlie Appleby, and it looked for much of the race this Summer Romance was going to be the winner, but she went pretty fast on the lead, I thought, and it set up beautifully for Althika, who has often made the running in the past herself, but benefited from a waiting ride perhaps on this occasion, and that was a really stylish win from this filly, and a great run as well from Stylistic in second. I thought she was going to upset it for a bit.
Yeah, she did. She got a bit banked on the about 200 from the finish line, but I'm very impressed by that little tiny filly. She's all heart, and she's got an amazing turn of foot.
Yeah, I really liked her before. I was just swayed by the jockey booking, Stephen, which can often happen. And say for much of the race, it looked like William was on the right one, but they just swooped, and she had no more to offer really when they came past. But there was a little bit of barging. We do need to see the head on. I think Silent Night was pretty much cannoned into at one point.
Yeah, William Buick got this wrong last year. James Road Magic Lily. I think it's actually James Doyle on Althika that's more the aggressor in the sort of veering left, which has then caused Stylistic to edge towards Silent Night. So it'd be interesting to see what the stewards say. They were quite harsh on the bands last week with 3 jockeys picking up 3 days. So whether a riding offence has taken place, or it's more the wayward tendencies of the fillies, that will be debated, no doubt. But it does seem as though Stylistic has been affected. We'll have a look at that. But Althika, she's actually shown more stamina than I gave her credit for here. Obviously helped by the fact her stablemate's gone on and made the run-in, and she's proven consistent, I would say, rather than a filly who'd threatened to go on and prove herself at a higher level. But she's only had the 7 races. She's never finished out the first 3 in any of those races, and this was a good victory. She's beaten Stylistic 2 1/4 lengths. Dubai Love's got outpaced but run on, and Silent Night, yeah, maybe Connections will feel a little bit aggrieved that they've been deprived of at least 3rd place because of meeting a bit of interference.
Yeah, she came to win a race, Silent Night. It was a bold effort. It's actually Charlie's 4th win in this race. He won it with Certify back in 2014, probably his first year training, I'd say, around about then. Poetic Charms, I mentioned, 2019, Magic Lily 2020, and now this filly, and that puts him on 199. No, it doesn't. Puts him on 99 winners here in the UAE for Charlie from just 440 odd runners. So really good effort. And Stephen mentioned James Doyle now won this race for the last 3 years. He also won it on Very Special for Saeed back in 2016. So he's got a really good record in it as well. And Godolphin domination in this Cape Verde goes now right back to 2016 when Carrera, or 2016 was Godolphin, 2015 Carrera, the last international to win this. So a fine performance by Althika, I thought. But there's plenty to look back at. And this one had a bit less of a layoff, just 141 days for this one.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, we were talking earlier about the optimum distance between races. Sort of 30, 40 days is quite nice, but Godolphin team, both arms of the Godolphin team are just so good at it. James Doyle now on 89 winners for his career here in the UAE. Of course, had a good couple of seasons here at Jebel Ali Stables as number 1 jockey there. And Althika probably did deserve a big win, Stephen. I mean, I felt a bit sorry for her when she was beaten by Foxtrot Lady at Doncaster. And as you pointed out, she's been so consistent in these group races. And indeed, throughout her career, she's only finished out of the first three once.
Yeah,
no, never finished out the first three.
These fillies group races in England tend to be very competitive. Let's have a look at the head-on, and you can see her.
I think you're right.
She has edged into stylistic. It's perhaps made to look a little bit worse than maybe it is.
Don't actually think anyone stopped riding there, have they? Oh, no. Maybe, that was the moment. I thought it was Silent Night that was the worst off, but actually I think it was Summer Romance. I guess, Jan, when they're coming like that, full of a run, and they suddenly start to edge over, it's very difficult for jockeys to correct them in time.
Definitely, but on top of that, I mean, to find the rhythm back on the horse, and she seems to be a big filly, a Roger Varian filly. To get her back on the feet, it must have cost her maybe not the win, but to be closer for sure. I mean, from the winner, but even that small filly can bang some bigger horses than herself.
Yeah, certainly. So into the lead, as we expected, I think, was Summer Romance under a confident William Buick. That's Silent Night pulling a little bit hard in the Gold Silks in second. The Black Cap is Dubai Love there in third, who was one of the first who was struggling. Stunning Beauty there was one of the first who was struggling to some extent. She's been a bit disappointing, really, Stunning Beauty. Do we just think she'll need the run, or do we think she was just beating inferior horses in England, or a bit of both?
Well, she definitely was beating inferior horses. The regard in which she is held shouldn't be discounted. Possibly she's going to be more of a sprinter. She was very keen here, but on the same token, she's been well beaten in the end, so more than anything, to me, it looked as though something wasn't quite right with her today.
Yeah, Frankie's already starting to just have to push her along a little bit, where everyone else is pretty much still on the bridle, including notably Andrea Razzini in the pale silks on Stylistique. He just asked her for an effort now, and she actually quickens up quite nicely, but it's so smooth there for Althika on the outside, and she sweeps past the tiring Stunning Beauty, and then this is when it all started to produce a bit of a concertina effect, and they've all sort of gravitated over towards the rail.
Right there, exactly. And she kind of switched leads and got a bit scared from James Doyle whip when he hit it right hand, but it doesn't change to me, personal, that the winner is definitely was the best horse on the field.
For sure.
On the night.
For sure. The one right at the back there is Last Look, who's actually beaten Stunning Beauty home. Last Look was the one who hadn't run since August of 2019. There's our winner highlighted for you. This beautifully bred daughter of Dark Angel, like so many Godolphin horses these days. She is a homebred. I've no doubt that both of these will come back. I'd have thought anyway, these Charlie Appleby runners in the Balanchine over the 1,800 metres. And as Stephen said, there was some doubt about Althika before getting the trip, and indeed getting the trip of the Cape Verde. But if they ride her like that again, she has every chance.
She has every chance. The way she ran today, she definitely has every chance on the next step, which it will be the Balanchine for sure.
Yeah, it comes up in 2 or 3 weeks' time. And last year, Magic Lily did the double.
Dubai Love ran an amazing race, considering we know that she's a better filly on the dirt. And she covered a lot of ground as well. I'm sure she got back on the dirt, she will be very much improving. And I don't know what's the target next race for her, but that was a good race from her coming up.
Should be interesting if they can find her.
Since July, I mean, she hasn't run since July the 9th, 2020. So Dubai Love next race should be interesting.
Yeah, definitely. It's particularly, as you say, because he's got the option of sticking her back on the dirt. 4-year-old filly. I don't see too many of those on the dirt, but Said was sort of man to be able to pull that off. So many eye catchers from here. As we said last year, up until 2020, these series of races have been pretty one-dimensional. You get a couple of good fillies and the rest aren't so good, but last year it really strengthened up this programme, and it seems to me to be the same again this year. And he's actually done a good job to correct Stylistique as quickly as he has there, and Andrea Razzini, after she's cannoned into the Godolphin filly there, Summer Romance. But obviously the stewards will have a closer look at it, as indeed they do with every race, and the ERA Twitter feed is the place to look for suspensions and things like that. Patrick Ayun once again, and Derek Poupard once again. He probably was the man responsible for shoeing the winner. long history here in the UAE, as Derek was farrier for Zabeel Stables a few years ago, and since has got one of the plum jobs in racing with Godolphin. And he can shoe a horse in a matter of seconds with his F1 style procedure that he has, where he sort of uses a totally different technique to the old-fashioned one. And if you want to know more about that, look it up on our YouTube page. We did a feature on him last year. So no surprises that it's being a really good night so far for Godolphin, but this time there was a different man in the plate, James Doyle. They're picking up his trophy once again for a race that's been a lucky one for him. 4 wins for him so far, and he'll tell Stephen just how he did it.
Yeah, joined by James Doyle after the victory of Althika. That was all very smooth, and some turn of foot she showed there.
She did. Looking at the race beforehand, slightly looked like there was plenty of runners that wanted to be to the fore, but not so much that wanted to really force the issue. But I didn't begin that quick, and after going a furlong I was pretty happy to take my time. They seemed to be running along at decent fractions, and she was nicely relaxed at the back. We started to sort of warm into it off the turn, and she did show a good turn of foot up the straight. She galloped through the line really well and galloped out nicely enough to definitely warrant having a crack at the 9 furlong Balanchine. So.
I was going to ask her, she always convinced you with stamina in the past?
Not necessarily, no. We thought a mile was definitely top end of her range, but she saw it out very well today. Obviously it's a very flat track here, which obviously helps.
She just tended to hang a little bit there late on.
Yeah, I mean I think we've gone from sort of near the back to in front pretty quickly, and she just, it can be a bit daunting here, and she did step inside. Speaking to the guys after the race, they said we got tight, but no issues there, so happy enough.
You're right. Time being 2 progressive horses, he looks progressive himself.
Yeah, he does. He'll need to improve again. Only worry is the lack of pace on paper. He is a horse that can take quite a grip, and if they were to drop anchor in front, it wouldn't set up ideally, but we've got a nice draw, so hopefully we just land in behind whatever speed there is, and we can get a good tow round, and hopefully he'll relax and finish off well.
Good luck with him, and well done with Althika.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thanks to James Doyle. The next race on our agenda is the UAE 1000 Guineas, which dates right back to 2001 when it was won by Mawakala. Let's have a look back at the last 5 runnings.
Polar Rivers are neck away and now 3 deep, and now being asked to extend as promising run is being ridden along. Car bore on the rail, flat the boards, and so is Dubai Fashion, who's last of the quintet. Dolly Dagger, a narrow leader, 500 metres left to travel on surface. Polar River loomed up on the outside as they turned for home, and leaving the 400 metres mark behind, Pat said go, and Polar River said OK. And in the 1,000 Guineas, Polar River has started 5 lengths in front. Promising Run is second, then Dolly Dagger and the Car Bore, followed by Dubai Fashion, but it is all Polar River. Polar River, hands and heels, will win by a big space and win easily. What's next for this filly? Who knows? Only good things. Polar River, an easy winner. Promising Run second. Nashmia onto the bend, 500 metres left to run, will straighten in front of the Guineas field. No More Rich Blondes moves to second, Raja third, Carrera on the outside, and Really Special is under pressure, she'll have to dig in. Complimenti's running on as No More Rich Blondes goes after Nashmia. Raja's back on the rail, and then Complimenti. Really Special struggling, she won't be winning tonight. Nashmia's in front of No More Rich Blondes, Raja and Complimenti. Nashmia, No More Rich Blondes comes after the Saudi filly. No More Rich Blondes lunges, but Nashmia fights back and wins. It's a Guineas for Saudi Arabia. Nashmia beat No More Rich Blondes, Raja third, Complimenti fourth, and then Really Special.
Towards the bend they come, 600 metres to go, and Raya goes very well in the 1,000 Guineas, out by a length. Into second clearly now is Winter Lightning. They were followed by Expressi, hard at work. The rider a gap to 2 shots are happy. Flora Sands headed the rest, but they turn for home. 350 metres to go. Raya is a narrow leader. Winter Lightning up alongside now. Expressi begins to finish on quite well, but Winter Lightning went to the lead at a 250. Found a length and a half over Raya, who really needs to dig in. Expressi runs on reasonably well, but Winter Lightning cruises cruises away, gets out by 2 over Raya. Then came Expressi, and Winter Lightning kept going by Pat Cosgrove, is going to take the 1,000 guineas. That's 10 guineas for Sarid bin Sarua. Wins easily. Second is Raya. Third across the line, Expressi. A gap off in the field then to Queen Esterol, who finished well from 2 shots are happy. They come to the top of the lane, and Lady Palmer travels nicely. On its back, Silver looking to get into the clear. They were followed by Mufilla feeling the pinch. Dubai Beauty over on the inside. Then Mulahima the outer. They were followed by Foggy Flight, Habba, El Shamkar, Halayet still around about 10 or 12 from the lead of a Silver. Dashed up on the outside, went to the front over Lady Palmer. Dubai Beauty got through to third, followed by Habba down the outside with a big run. But Silver dashes away and gets out 3-4 lengths over Lady Palmer. Then Dubai Beauty, Divine Image over on the inside, but Silver's going to make an auspicious debut here in the UAE, and Silver takes the 1,000 guineas in great fashion, wins it by a big space. Divine Image dived for second, just to tip out Lady Palmer, followed by Dubai Beauty. Then came next in Starry Eye. They turn for home, down into Bayou, a narrow leader. Final song up on the outside. Rio Angie runs to third, followed by Dubai Love, who's about to come across heels. Going to the lead, Final Song. Down into Bayou, here's Dubai Love closing in on the outside. Final Song went to a narrow lead, but Dubai Love picks it up on the outside. Down into Bayou, fights hard, but Dubai Love went straight by Final Song and down on Bayou and begins to streak away. Dubai Love's opening right up for a great win in the UAE 1,000 guineas. It's Dubai Love over down on Bayou. Final Song had enough on the wire, followed by Rio Angie. Next to come in Ascot Brass. They were followed by Silent Night. A gap then to Havana Red.
It's a race that's certainly thrown up a few shocks over the years. The last really well-fancied horse to win it was Polar River back in 2016. Even Winter Lightning, with all her illustrious breeding, being a sister to Thunder Snow, was fancied, I think, to finish behind Raya in that race. And Silver was a big old shock when she won it for Pia Brandt. I don't think anyone expected Pia to come here with a horse like Silver and win by half the track in this race.
True. No, I recall that. It was an amazing race.
It's a real shock.
Yeah, it was to her too.
Yeah. So it could happen this evening. It's quite often that the form from the Guineas trial gets turned on its head, as we saw last year when Final Song took the Guineas trial and then could only finish third in the race itself. So you never know, but Soft Whisper did look very, very good when she landed that Guineas trial last time, so maybe she'll be able to do it for Said bin Saror, who's going for that dozen wins in this race. And he's sent some pretty smart fillies into it in the past, and when I mentioned Winter Lightning, he's also won it with Itimal down the years as well. Local Time, who's gone on to be a good broodmare as well, so it wouldn't be a surprise. But as I said, she's not home and hosed in it already. Let's give you the conditions then for our Longines sponsored UAE 1,000 guineas, $125,000, which is pretty good for a listed race. Doug Watson got 3 in here this time. He's just won it once so far. One of his is Heshmar. We heard all about Katan. Interesting that she's always had the Emirati ownership there of Ahmed Al Maheri. Manasek, so impressive on debut, and she beat Nayefa. Nicholas Bachelard remains in really good form. Revolutely's quite well tried. She used to run in Ireland for Johnny Murta. Soft Whisper and Super Chianti looked very good on debut. But this wasn't a plan. She was supposed to have a race in between. That said, she'll be fresher than a lot of these, and I'm sure they'll have done plenty of work with her at home. Mikel Barcelona rides Heshma here, who's a useful filly, actually. It's just whether or not she really wants this trip. Did you speak to him about this one?
Yes, I did. Like he said, she just underneath the others of the field. He's expecting some the other doesn't run not having a good day in order to catch up a place. But he said that looking on the form, she just not knowing her, she's just a little bit below some 3 or 4 horses fillies better than her.
Mikel was on board Nashmia when she won this for Nicholas Bachelard. Super training performance. That was back in 2017 when Nicholas was based in Saudi. This is Katan, and I thought Elione gave her a pretty good appraisal of her chances earlier on. I mean, she's got a fair bit to find, really. She's only rated 78, although that does put her a couple of pounds clear of Heshmar. The filly ran well enough earlier, Silent Night with Elione on board, so maybe he can get something out of this one. But she's one of the outsiders in the field, and you can understand why. Majid Rahman, who's saddling up for Jebel Stables at the moment. Ryan Caratolo on the right, Mohammed Al-Shahi, I think that is, in the centre. So hard to recognise people with face masks on. This is Manasek, and you can pick holes in the form, but visually it was absolutely stunning what she did when she trounced Nayafa, who's a good filly, by 6 3/4 lengths. Having missed the break a long way, she didn't just miss it a little bit. And it was always the plan to come straight here. Doug said quite amusingly after the race, well, I guess she goes well fresh, and it was her first start, of course. And I imagine that they spent a fair bit of time working on her gait manners since. Sparkling chat there. Dana Nil, Pat Dobbs. Ryan Caratolo, though, will ride Nayefa. Nice filly. She just seemed a bit scatty. She doesn't seem to have quite got the hang of things yet.
Yeah, it's something about her that I can see there's so much room to be improved. I mean,
totally.
the distance should suit her, definitely. She's a little bit of a funny filly going to the gate, regarding what Nicola was telling me. But other than that, when you looked at the previous race, she's just turning form, she's on and off, she goes, she stops. I mean, she's definitely a filly, will definitely improve with age and the way she's been running, and also with distance. So she'll run definitely a good race today. Nicola was saying that she's in top form. She looks well. Looking at her in the paddock, she looks amazing. But I can definitely see a filly for the Oaks more than for the Guineas.
Me too. Really like her for the Oaks. It'll just give her more time to sort herself out. Revolut is the most experienced in the field. This will be her 9th start this evening, and she's joined Ben Olsen, who's yet to have a winner here, but he's had some pretty good goes at it, and it won't be long. From the Johnny Murta yard. She won a Curra Nursery, which isn't the easiest place to win, to be honest. It's a very good standard of racing, obviously. But I don't think she's going to be quite good enough to win this. She's not really bred for the dirt. And she's well bred, but she's not bred for the dirt, and it's quite a leap of faith. But good luck to them. So Ben Olsen's done well with his runners here in the past, notably Red Cactus. But she'd need a few of these to underachieve to really hit the frame, I'd say. And this is the favourite, Soft Whisper, and she was very good last time, wasn't she? Although the form's had a bit of a knock, I suppose, with the filly earlier being disappointing in the Bastakiya trial, who finished 3rd.
Yeah, definitely. She won definitely a trial race really in a nice way. She broke slow, but really covered some ground. Distance should be a problem. Looking at her, she's a bit on her toes, but nothing to be worried about. She needs to really she's got to have a good test today. I mean, this is a really open field. There's about 4 or 5 filly can win that race tonight, and she's one of them.
Super Chianti is definitely one of those who can win. On breeding, Adam is a half-sister to the Breeders' Cup Turf winner Dangerous Midge, and she's by Super Saver, the Kentucky Derby winner. On breeding, she should really appreciate this trip and then some. It wasn't plan A. They were, as I said, supposed to run her in the Guineas trial, but obviously Doug's Yard were out of action for a couple of weeks. They think a lot of her. Pat Dobbs has stuck with her. I'm not sure whether he would have been able to switch on to Minasek, but I reckon he wouldn't have done anyway. They really do think she's good, and although Naef has been beaten since, it was the way this filly won. She did nothing whatsoever in front, suggesting there's way more in the tank, and she's a huge danger to Soft Whisper here. And they're all behaving pretty well at the moment, actually, as they head out of the parade ring, which is where we can find Stephen.
Unfortunately, there's no Doug Watson on course at the moment, so he's sent along Adam McLean, a trusty steed in the yard, although you've not been in for a good while because of injury yourself.
No, well, part and parcel of the job, I'm afraid. So I've been out for a couple of months now with a niggly little injury, but we're back here now in good health, and we'll just have to pick up and hope it gets better soon.
Nice to be helping the yard in saddling these 3 fillies. They look smart, at least Super Chianti and Minasek from what we've seen so far.
Yeah, 2 lovely fillies, the 3 of them, particularly like Super Chianti, and Bitten Smith, who rides her at home. She's done a fantastic job with her. She looked an absolute picture tonight, so expecting some good things from her, as well as Mashik as well. I think Sandra Berginger rides her at home, and again, all 3 of them are looking in good order, so fingers crossed they can do a repeat of their first time out.
Obviously, Super Chianti missed her last run because of the yard in quarantine. Any concerns that she might just lack a bit of experience tonight, do you think?
Well, look, we'll just have to see how they get on. I mean, I'm not overly worried. I mean, she seems like quite a smart filly, and she's intelligent, so there is that little worry there, but we'll just have to see how she gets on. I think she's got plenty of ability, and let's just see. Fingers crossed.
Good luck and great to see you here.
Thank you. Good to see you too.
Yeah, our thanks to Adam McLean, pretty useful jockey. Struck up a good partnership with Native Appeal last year at Jebel Ali. Hopefully we'll see him back soon, but fulfilling a good role this evening as we take a look at Soft Whisper in that so subtle hood. Frankie Dettori has presumably won this race on many an occasion. In fact, he first won it back in 2004 on Catstar and followed up a year later on Satin Kiss, who's one of the better ones. And he also won it on Gamalati, the very smart Gamalati, in 2012. So Frankie and Saeed bin Saror, very much the men's with the record in this race. Let's see if we can show you a couple of them in action. And Minasek is the one we can show you first, hopefully. And I love watching this race because, as I said earlier, it's so rare that they do this. But Stephen made some good points on the winning line that you can pick holes in Minasek's form to some extent, and the fact that maybe she was running on past tired horses. Be good to show you that race if we can from back in December. Perhaps not. Okay, Stephen, give us your reasoning for why Minasek could get beaten here.
Well, it was very quick early pace. The two fillies that forced it both finished right out the back. Ron Woods actually stated it was the fourth slowest time ever over that trip, so not a good time either. The track was riding slow, so it would have caught out plenty of the filly. She's not very big, looking at her in the parade ring, so not massively convinced there's going to be a lot of natural improvement as time goes on. But if the rating of 96 is to be believed, a similar performance is going to put a bang there. She beat Nayefa 6 3/4 lengths, which is presumably what the handicappers based the rating around, but I'm not totally convinced that she ran the same race as she did on debut when second to Super Chianti. I felt there was some sort of regression just by the way she travelled through the race, Nayefa. She wasn't on the bridle, and I just wonder whether she's gone a little bit weak on them. She's quite a big filly, big raw filly, and again, not massively convinced as to how Nayefa is going to progress. So that's the belief with Minasek, but like you say, not too many horses can win from as far back as she did on debut, so you've got to give us some credit for that. And it's only one start, one piece of evidence, so it would be too harsh to crab her so earlier into her career.
Maybe we can show you the race now. I suppose if they did go very slowly, doesn't that mark up the win? It's not like she was going past horses who were legless, having gone fast.
Well, I think they did go fast, which is why they ended up finishing the slow time.
Slowly,
I think it was Jamira
Jane.
Jamira Jane, yeah, and I think she went on with another filly, and they finished right out the back. And she'll have learnt from the experience herself, though. Minasek, she was slowly away, and but it's just when you see them do that, if she breaks well today, can she do the same from sitting in second or third place? It's not the easiest to think. You see, the first two fillies there, Jamira Beach and Jamira Jane, they finish second last and third last behind one who was right out the washing. But she's in front soon enough. She gets there readily, so maybe a bit harsh to be crabbing in just yet. You can see Nayefa's hard work in the yellow on the outside. But yeah, it wasn't a piece of form I was wholly hot on in hindsight, I don't think.
I'm going to take it seriously. I think she's a real talent. Nayefa, as well as the winner here. Minasek, who's owned by Al Rashid Sabres. We've got a lot of horses here now, and have done pretty well since switching their attentions or concentrating their attentions a little bit more on the UAE as a sort of syndicate in the last couple of years. What did you make of that? Now you've seen it again, Jan. Any further thoughts?
Well, yeah, it's always interesting because, in particular, the second race you always make a really a great answer, a good answer about the thought of the horse. Sometimes they come to the first race not knowing where they're going, and then the second race they know where they're going. So it's interesting to see how she's going to behave after winning so easily. I was very pleased, and to me the best on her was Super Chianti. She looks amazing on the paddock. She was actually run really impressively, beating Nayefa at the same time. She will be my pick on the race. Regarding there's another good fillies on the field, but I was actually really impressed the way she was looking, the way she was behaving in the paddock, going to the track, and it'd be interesting. But and again, it's always interesting to see the second race more than give a thought on the first race.
Well, this was the fillies Guineas trial. Stephen, I mentioned to Jan earlier, the form's had a bit of a knock tonight, or has that been a bit unfair?
I suppose it has. The third filly was well beaten in the Bastakiya trial. I mean, she's not particularly flashy, sparkling. She's a grinder. Obviously, the extra 200 metres is going to suit Soft Whisper tonight. Maybe we'll get too carried away with her gallop out, as we keep commenting on the fact she went halfway down the back straight. She is the pick in terms of strength and...
I think she missed.
Well, she's got a bit of heart about her as well.
She's had a bit of a go. I think it was Heshmar there that was on the receiving end of that hoof, but I think she missed. Yeah. As I said earlier, it's quite often that the form of the trial is turned on its head in this race.
Yeah, fillies one dirt run to the next. You just never know. And with Super Chianti, it might just work in her favour that she's not had that second race.
She does look fantastic.
She does, yeah.
Doug Watson said when she won that race, he said more politely, because he's quite the gent, but he said, I'm not too worried about what Godolphin have. We really like this filly.
Yeah, they've always said, Pat Dobbs the same in an interview with you. And like I say, it might work in her favour that she missed that second race. The fact she was a bit idle in front would concern me in terms of experience second time, but how often do we see fillies, by the time they get to the Oaks and even the Derby on World Cup night, they've had enough? Polar River, prime example. You know,
she was so lucky in that UA Derby.
She scrambled home in the Oaks, and there's been other examples as well. So let's see how professional she is more than anything. We know with Soft Whisper that she is. She's had the more starts, but Super Chianti certainly looked a very racy filly in the parade ring.
Every year it seems to be Doug Watson who really puts it up to the Godolphin team. And so he went close with Raya a few years ago, a filly that they really liked. And as you mentioned earlier, Polar River beat Sabin Straw's promising run in this race a few years ago.
I was thinking that few other trainers really have a go with the fillies over here, do they?
No More Rich Blondes was she was not a great filly, but she actually did very, very well in this grade over here, didn't she? Fatma bin Hamash.
Yeah, and then went to America. I suppose trainers like Doug Watson, Satif Seymour, Ahmed bin Hamash with the connections in America will serve them better having a filly here, because I know they do stick around, but for my money, if they're winning good races here at 3, you probably want to be selling them on to America as soon as you can.
Absolutely, or just sending them back to America, where most of them have come from. A couple of exceptions in this race, though. Katoon's bred in England, the Irish bred Revolute Me, and Soft Whisper was actually Irish bred and was by no means guaranteed to go on the dirt, really, being out of a See the Stars mare, but the Dubawi helps her with that. Are we giving any shot to Katoon here?
Probably not. She only costs €9,000. She's bred to stay quite well. For all, she won over 6 furlongs on debut. She's a winner on the dirt, but I think just historical with these sorts of fillies from Scandinavia. She's tending to they're going to struggle, but look, she only has to beat one home to get a bit of prize money, and Heshma's not looked to start yet, so she could beat that one home. And obviously Revolute Me was fairly well exposed in Ireland, so a bit of prize money to be had for 6th place.
Definitely got issues with the stalls as Minasek. She's gone forward, albeit reluctantly. Soft Whisper's gone forward as well, quite nicely. There's Heshmar. Final thought, final selection, Jan?
Well, I was going to go with my mate Nicola, because I really like this filly, but again, I think she will turn out to be an Oaks filly more than a Guineas filly. But I really enjoyed, and the way she's being that filly on the screen now, Super Chianti. She looks amazing. She's calm. After that's the second race, it's always a good give you a lot of ideas how she behaved. She's actually more calm than Nasek coming to that race.
It is intriguing. There's not many of them, but they could be a good 7. Time for our UAE 1,000 guineas.
Take up its spot. So Nayefa, a little way behind the gates. Just waiting on Nayefa to come up towards the barriers, and then we'll be right to go for the 1,000 guineas. So not quite sure what the delay is here with this horse. Now they've got a rugby pack behind it, and they're trying to edge it up towards the gates. So Nayefa, the last to come forward. We're almost set. The 1,000 guineas about to get underway. Gates go back and they're racing, and Manasek missed it terribly once again. Firing away quickly, Soft Whisper went straight to the lead. Heshmar over on the inside driving up there. Also, Naef is going to be handy with Super Chianti, followed by Katoon on the outside. Then came Revolute Me, and picking up the pieces is Manasek getting into its position over on the inside. But they race into the back, and Heshmar, not a great deal of speed on, shows the way. Soft Whisper getting a little keen over on the outside, then Super Chianti, followed by Naefa. Katoon is out wider on the track. Then came Manasek, and back at the tail is Revolute Me. Down the back in 25.48 was the lead, and Heshmar for Macau Barcelona dictates the race. Shows out by a length over Soft Whisper, the international favourite. Super Chianti wants a little bit more room over on the inside. Naefa outside of it. Then Katoon going up wider. They were followed by Manasek, and last of all on the outside is Revolute Me. Down the side they come. Heshmar's made play from the outset. Moving up on the outside, Soft Whisper for Dettori. He looks pretty confident on the favourite. It moves up and is jogging at the top of the straight. Soft Whisper put paid to Heshmar. Now off the fence, Super Chianti. They were followed by Katoon coming to the outside. A gap away to Manasek, but for home they come, and Soft Whisper changes leads and races out by 7 lengths over Heshmar in second. They were followed by Super Chianti. Then came Katoon. Down the outside, Manasek begins to run on, but this is going to be a one-act affair for Soft Whisper, and a dozen for Saeed Bin Sarur in the 1,000 guineas. Soft Whisper, as soft as you like. It's a dozen clear, running on hard Manasek, but it's going to be Soft Whisper. Cruises in, wins it by 9 lengths. Second in Manasek, just needs to begin out of the barriers a little better. They were followed by Super Chianti, close up Katoon, a gap away then to Naefa, and the early leader Heshmar went back to second from last with a Revolute Me. Sure, we've had some very easy winners of the Guineas, but I'm not sure we've had an easier winner of the Guineas. Soft Whisper, Frankie Dettori and Saeed Bin Sarur. He had a quick look at about the 600 metres. Have to have a look at the replay. I was looking through the binoculars, but kind of looked like he had to look back through the legs, Frankie, but he was very, very confident at the top of the straight, as well he should be. It's absolutely jogged up Soft Whisper. So its performance at a second time on the dirt was even a bigger improvement than we might have expected. We might have expected it to improve at a second run on the surface, but it's improved in leaps and bounds. Soft Whisper, Saeed Bin Sarur, 12 times a winner in the 1,000 guineas. Frankie Dettori aboard, Soft Whisper winning easily. Manasek, there's a bit of a problem with the starts for Manasek. It was very, very slow out, ran on strongly, beat the others quite nicely, but it's certainly got a barrier issue at the moment. And third, I think we had Super Chianti, but we'll just wait for confirmation. Yes, it's up there now. And Katoon has run a very good race for Sweden. So the numbers are 6, 3, 7 and 2. 1:38.67 is the winner's time. 1:38.67 is the winner's time for the 1,000 guineas. Dubai Love winning it last year in 1:37 and 98.
Well, of all Saeed's winners in this race, I'm not sure too many have come easier than that. That was very, very good from Soft Whisper under an incredibly confident Frankie Dettori, and he knew he had this race won even before they turned for home.
Yeah, from that trial race coming to the 1,000 guineas, she was a hot favourite, and she proved she was the best field on the field, and the best is to come. Honestly, I think the further distance later on the program will suit her even better.
Yeah, the way she's bred, the step up to the Oak Strip will be no bother whatsoever, and she just looks a thoroughly uncomplicated filly.
She does.
Today, anyway, more so than last time.
She's got a nice action about her as well for the dirt, quite round and really grabs at the ground. Quite what she's beaten would be open to debate again. Manasek's run on well from the back to grab second, and I should probably give her more credit than I certainly did before the race. That was a good run. Super Chianti maybe was a bit keen in the middle part of the race. That's just contributed to her fading to third, and Katoon put up a bold show for a while. Connections, I could hear them
delighted with fourth.
Yeah, they were cheering for third. I could hear them, but she just faded. But yeah, it's a bit of a soft win, but she's a very talented filly, and there'll be nothing to beat her in the Oaks.
Yeah, I wouldn't have thought so. I can't see there being too many more emerging. There'll obviously be some that take a step forward. Naefa, do we think it's in her head a little bit? I'm sure she's got a lot of ability.
She's definitely a lot of ability. She's just in head. I'm sure some equipment will suit her further down the road, because she's acting pretty much during the race and even behind the gate. She's a big disappointment to me. I thought she'd be running better, and she seems to be going to the wrong direction.
Yeah, she is, unfortunately, but never mind. I'm sure Nicholas can extricate some improvement from her, or maybe try a different tackle altogether. But all about our winner, really. Soft Whisper, this very smart daughter of Dubawi, who has given Frankie Dettori a 4th win in this race. Now, whether she'd be as good as some of them, Catstar, Satin Kiss, were both pretty decent mares who've gone on to be pretty decent brood mares. In fact, I think Satin Kiss is the dam of Aslan, who's a winner around here a couple of times for Salim bin Gidea. And then Gamalati, of course, was very, very good. She went home and made an impact in the classics back in Europe, which I suppose, Stephen, is the ultimate aim, isn't it, really? Of course, we know Sobin Sraw's won a UAE Derby with Caller. That's something that he, I'm sure, consider with this filly. But after that, he'll be looking firmly at Newmarket.
Oh, without doubt. And you may see the 1,000 guineas back at Newmarket as a trial, more of a trial for the Oaks, because she looks as though she's certainly got plenty of staying power. She's a very well-developed filly compared to some of the ones we've seen here. But yeah, he's had the later maturing sorts in recent years, juvenile-wise, so he'll be very keen to press on and go back to the Guineas, much as he did with Final Song here last year.
Yeah, she ran a great race in the Guineas Final Song, but I'd say Soft Whisper's a slightly higher calibre of filly. She's now 3 from 6. She looked very, very good when winning at Salisbury.
They should rename the race
the Sobin Sraw Guineas
Stakes. So
yeah.
It's the 12th one, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a pretty amazing record, really.
Yeah.
The race has been run since 2001. It's a listed race since 2006. It's always been a fairly difficult race for the internationals to win. Jeremy Nacida, who's just retired, did win it with Vague back in 2006. And, of course, we had that Pierre Brandt shock a couple of years ago with Silver and Nicholas winning it from Saudi, of course. But generally it's been one that stayed relatively close to home. And Saeed, in fact, won the first 5 renewals of the race. Moakler, I think, went home, finished second in at Guineas, if I remember
I think she fractured
rightly.
her knee and wasn't seen again, maybe, in that Guineas, yeah.
She would have been one of the best, but it's a race that doesn't often have a lot of depth. And are you still not taking Monasek seriously? I'm definitely going to start up a fan club for that.
Yeah,
filly.
definitely give her more credit today. She'll need to break better, for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think her ability shone through in getting second in the end. She was still a fair way back, turning for home. And she could, granted a cleaner break and the longer trip of the Oaks, she may well make more of a race for it. I think long term, there's not a massive amount of scope there. I don't think she's going to grow and develop into a very strong 3/4-year-old next year. But yeah, they'll be keen to try and renew battle in the Oaks, and maybe I don't know, would Saeed maybe look at taking this filly to Saudi instead of...
Quite possibly. He took Final Song last year, didn't he? So I think this one's a little bit better. Oh, she's missed it so badly, hasn't she?
Yeah.
And she's done well to do what she did from there, although she caught up pretty quickly. Dane O'Neill didn't seem overly concerned.
No. Actually, he took his time. It was a strong pace early on, so I'm sure he suited her. He didn't make any didn't ask her to cover some ground, so no. Actually, you can see her jumping around.
Jumping over the kickback almost,
the
isn't she?
kickback, but definitely showed that the distance shouldn't be a problem later on in the season.
The one who's rather pulled her chance away, such as it was at the back there, is the Revolute Me, Bent Olsen filly, the grey on the outside. She settled a little bit once Sandro's taken her to the outside of the field, but that wouldn't have helped her. She was up against it anyway. But at this point, I thought Frankie looked so confident, and then in a minute he has a look down between his legs. He can see that he's got more horse than the others. Possibly this is where Catton has sort of made a fairly audacious bid around the outside, and then he's sort of decided against it. I think Elione thought maybe I'll take it up. He didn't have the filly to do it, so he's ended up battling out with Super Chianti there. And Nayefa has just looked laboured, hasn't she, in the back there in those yellow silks. She sort of plodded on rather than in any way quickened up. But Monasek's come from a long way back, obviously, to beat the other 3 fillies there, so they're still having quite the tussle there. Catton and Super Chianti for third. It was eventually Super Chianti who prevailed in that particular battle by a neck, but she's home on her own. Much too good. Soft Whisper. Yet another win for Godolphin on what is a really good night for them, and could well get better in our finale. Yeah, that must have felt great for Frankie. I don't think he picked up the whip at all, did he?
Yeah, it does. A great feeling when you ride such a amazing filly who does all the work, very focused, very serious. She knows where she's going, and it's pretty much driving a nice car.
Yeah, very smooth indeed. A word for Pat Cosgrave, who rode this filly in her trial and no doubt done some of the work with her in the mornings. Not for me to suggest who should be riding which horses, but feel for him a little bit. No doubt his day will come. In fact, he did indeed win this race last year on Dubai Love for Saeed, so things have a way of working themselves out. She's a gorgeous looking filly, isn't she? Her dam Placidia was pretty decent. She was a winner over 1 mile and 2 on the turf. And we didn't see, as I said earlier, too many See the Stars. He has had winners on the dirt, but there's plenty of other stallions you put ahead of him in the pecking order if you were looking for a dirt filly. But the Dubawi on her, obviously he's her sire. That's what's helped get her through this particular test. Not that she's really faced any kickback or anything like that. She's emerged pretty clean from it. Pretty hard race, I think, by some of them in behind. Heshma's a sweet little filly. She tries hard, I think, doesn't she?
She does.
She could be one for... There's a nice Jebel Ali fillies conditions race at the end of the season. Habba won it last year. I think it's a fillies race. Doug Watson's done well in it before. Perhaps she could be one for that. And they'll be, as I said, very happy with Catton, with the Oaks very much as their aim. She's picked up a nice prize money here. Just missed the black type, but maybe she can get that next time. So we await our trophy presentation then for our UAE 1,000 guineas. Absolutely flown past this evening. Just one more race to come. One of the, probably the most difficult race of the night to solve, actually. But poetry in motion from Soft Whisper. And it just proves it's well worth paying attention to what Saeed bin Surur runs at Pontefract in September. Soft ground or not, that could well turn out to be his Guineas horse here in the balmy Dubai winter a few months later. It was a good win, I remember that really well. 4-length victory over the well-regarded Spirit Bermuda, so it's not as if her form from the UK was bad. She came here with very good credentials. It was just whether or not she would adapt to the dirt, and adapt to it she certainly has. So he will be delighted, I'm sure. We'll perhaps get a word with him in a moment via Stephen after we take our trophy presentation for our Longines at 1,000 guineas. It's been a really good night so far, Jan, hasn't it?
Yeah, I enjoy it very much. Actually, nice horses, nice race. We miss a bit of ambience, obviously, but we'll deal with it. But it's always good to see Meydan and see such a nice horses on the track.
And in your time in the UAE so far, you've obviously been to Alain. Have you been to many of the other tracks?
Well, yeah, I've been, as you know, I raced a filly in the old days in 2011 in the Cape Verde. So I came to Meydan. I work here in 95, 96 as an assistant to Erwan Chapi. So back in Al Shiba. So I know a bit of Dubai.
Yeah, Al Shiba had a great ambience. I think Owen won't thank you for saying that. It ages him a bit, doesn't it?
Yeah, no, I know he just celebrates 26 years in
Has he really?
In Dubai.
Amazing. Former champion trainer, of course, Owen. Had a couple of winners this season. Well done to all of Saeed bin Surur's team. Saeed's going to pick up the trainer trophy by the looks of things. I love what Longines do with their sponsorship. I think it's absolutely brilliant that they sponsor huge races around the world. In America, Breeders' Cup, here in Dubai, and that they also sponsor at Sharjah. I think that's absolutely fabulous. Covering all grades of racing, from 45 rated Arabians right up to the best horses in the world. I think it's fabulous. Well done to Saeed. He's pretty ready and happy to talk about his good fillies generally. He knows exactly what he's got in the yard in terms of ones to bring here. He'll know, he knows which one to try on the dirt. He doesn't get it wrong that often. And Frankie Dettori will command all the headlines tomorrow. Once again, no bad thing for racing here in Dubai to have him back with us. Most successful jockey in carnival history. I'm not sure if Stephen's going to try and get a word with him or Saeed. Looks like they're having a bit of a huddle at the moment to have a debrief from this race. So, as I mentioned, plenty more racing coming up this weekend. We're back here on Saturday. Here's Adam with a few pointers as to what we can look out for over the next 2 days.
Away from the bright lights of the carnival at Meydan, there's 2 further meetings in the UAE over the weekend. Al Ain stages 7 races on Friday evening, beginning at 5 p.m. The first leg of the marathon series is the feature, and 10 Arabians will line up over 3,200 metres. The Eric Lamartinelle trained Basma could be an interesting proposition at that trip and will be ridden by stable jockey Fabrice Ferron. Over to Meydan on Saturday now, where the action starts at 5:30. Satish Seemar and Doug Watson will go head-to-head in the 1,800 metre turf maiden. 0 to 100 bumped into a smart one last time out, and there's no reason why he shouldn't transfer his dirt form to turf. Royal Castle will be Watson's representative in that race, and this gelded son of Dubawi ran well on his UAE debut. Watson has sound claims in the 2,200 metre dirt handicap. Meydan won well over this course and this